I just realized it's recording and I've got a baby on my boob. I'll have to cut this part out. Okay. Your SpongeBob dance while you're wearing SpongeBob.
Now you can't cut it out.
I probably will need to because of my boob.
Can't see your boobs.
All right, let's see if anybody wants to come and chat with me before it starts. All right, Addie. What's wrong, Addie? Okay, you want to get out of my shirt now? Oh. Here, drink some coffee. Here, no, you want some coffee? No. All right, mommy's got to work, baby. Come here. Oh, baby, it's okay. Oh, no. Oh, it's okay. She's tired still. What are you doing? Oh, you're going to get down? No, you're not going to get down. Upcoming calendar event. Our Zoom meeting is today. 4 o'clock. No, not right now. It's gonna be hard. I'm sorry. Here, look, Addie. You want to play with these? Look, what's this? What's in here? Wow! Look at this. Look at this, baby. There's so many. What did you find? Oh, oops.
Bah. Bah.
Oh,
can you do that? Bah. Bah.
What's the name of this book? I deleted all of her layers, and no, I don't remember. What's her name? Oh my gosh, where did it go? Did he delete it by accident?
You guys have a shared email?
Yeah. All right, how or can you trap a birthday Burkle? That's the whoops.
Hey, you want to go find Kieran and Alex? Come on. Kieran and Alex to see if we can work her out.
No. This is yucky. No, it's no good. Here. Connor, can you get her a juice box? She found a juice box in here. I don't even know what it's from.
Mom, you want a juice box?
Here. Have some of this. You don't want it right now, okay?
You say something to me?
No, but she's gonna have to go.
Look. Who is it? Is that Kieran and Alex? Hello. Hey, do you want to march? You want to march? What? March.
just going to fort. Aren't they cute and sweet? Thanks, babe. Love you. Hi, Julia. Hi, Julia. Oh. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Cindy. Clay.
What?
Do you see your name?
Oh, the same person.
Okay, do you know what happened? I couldn't get the meeting code, so I had to register for it. And I didn't know that I was going to make it unique. So that I could send you the meeting code. I had to do it that way. You hear me? I am talking. Yeah. Crack me up. You're my favorite. Oh my gosh. Okay, I made you a host, homie.
All right. Feel
You
honored.
ignore it, damn it.
That's right.
Oh my god. I'm literally crying. I can't actually hear anybody yet.
Julia's connecting to audio, but it doesn't seem to be working very well.
Yeah, she was the first one to come in. I'm not sure why it's not working. Hi, Gina. Hi, Cindy. I think I opted for it to auto mute people when they come in case we have some people that arrive late. So how are you, Clay? Did you see I let you know that what's her face, the sloth cover lady sent more pictures?
Yes, I saw that, so I'll see that.
If you want to try and pull them from that PDF she sent. But
All right.
I told her I'd let her know what you decide either way.
Okay.
I was so confused when I had to admit myself in here. I was like, well, I feel like someone's calling me.
Why is that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I have to figure out how to edit the video because I started it 15 minutes early and Addie was still nursing. So I've got to cut out that first portion. My kids came in, everybody was dancing. You missed it.
Color commentary. Oh, I missed it. I really did.
All right, I'm going to message Julia and ask her maybe if she could exit and come back in.
Okay.
I wonder if I should send a reminder. Hi, Ashley, in the group.
Hey, girl.
How are ya?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
all right.
yeah, you're so cute. Long time no see.
What did you say?
I said you look so cute.
Oh,
I wish I could pull off glasses like that.
I got no comment like that when I showed up. Just for the record.
How rude.
Hi, Cindy. I'm blowing you kisses. You're leaving me hanging.
She's just she's not even listening to you.
No, she hates me. Just kidding. Love you. We're getting started.
Oh.
I love trolling you in our group's trick, Clay. It's my favorite.
Oh, I know you do. I've picked up on that.
You know that I'm your favorite.
Yeah, I do.
Hi, Gina.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love whipping Clay's butt in front of other people.
She thinks. She hopes. No chance.
Hi, Julia. I'm going to work on your cover tonight. We haven't had a chance to tell anybody that we're working on their covers or not because we just decided about a half an hour ago which covers we were going to work on. That's what happens when you have way too much going on, right, Clay?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to turn my video and sound off just because I know the kids are going to be running in and out.
I will probably have some interruptions also because I have like 10 kids. Not really, I have 5, but it feels like 10.
I might be doing the same too. I have 2 kids, and so yeah.
You know, I started this meeting and forgot that I was recording it and I was nursing the baby when I turned the camera on. So I'm gonna have to cut out the first 15 minutes.
Hashtag mom life.
I know, right? I'm just a mess all the time.
No.
So it said that we had a lot of people register. It was like almost 60. So I'm going to give it a little bit before, maybe we'll wait until like, what, 4:05, Clay? What do you think?
Yeah, well, 2 more minutes. I mean, it's not even 5 o'clock.
Yeah, we thought we'd open it up a little early and chat with people because, you know, it's fun, right? It's fun, Clay.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I'm preparing my
Oh,
work.
you're preparing? I
You keep-
thought
You keep like chatting.
are you cheating? That feels like cheating.
No, I'm getting the files open, weirdo.
All right. Well, now I'm going to start looking for fonts. Actually, that's the one. That's totally it. Maybe not. No, that's it.
Anybody else tired? I'm tired.
Well, you're a guy, so guys are always
Are we?
tired. My husband is perfectly useless most of the time. Just kidding. He makes pretty babies. Just kidding. I wasn't talking about you though. He is a special breed of people. This is a good font. All right. Julia, your cover has so much potential.
I know, I agree. But I think we all think that about our books.
Yeah, oh, I can tell you that that's not always the case. Sometimes it's hard.
My illustrator is phenomenal, and she gave me so much to work with, and I feel like it's worth it for me to hold off publishing until I get it right, because I feel like it could be really, really good.
Yeah, I was actually, Clay and I got together beforehand on Zoom, and we were going through on screen share kind of like different covers we were working on, and we were commenting how talented your illustrator is. The illustrations on the interior are really great. I do want to comment, because I've got you though, that you should probably change the font on the interior.
Okay.
I think that the font and the text on the interior, and I'm not even looking at you, is just as important as the illustrations and the cover.
Yeah.
And you can bring in so much life and character with the text, emphasizing different words and, you know, enlarging things, making them stand out. I think it's a missed opportunity there if you leave it as plain text, but it's also a little bit too large. I've noticed that, you know, on children's books, board books are kind of the exception. They can be a little bit larger, but on children's books that are printed on regular paper, if you make your text too large, it almost feels like it's cheap, which I know that you're a very seasoned author, so I feel silly telling you that because you probably already know that, but it looked a little bit.
No. I always feel like I'm starting over every time. So.
Yeah, well, I don't remember anything that I did for my first book. I was actually just talking to Cindy because she's about to launch her. Oh wow! Did you just let a bunch of people in?
We had a whole crowd in the lobby. The lobby was getting full there.
I didn't see that there was anybody in the waiting room. Anyway, I was just talking to Cindy yesterday because she's about to launch her second book, and we were chatting about some things that I did for mine, but I had to really, really rack my brain to remember how I launched my book because it was like, ages ago.
Right. I loved Cindy's first book. I'm excited to hear she's coming out with a second.
Cindy's a very talented writer.
Yeah.
Illustrations are okay. I did my best.
Well, I appreciate your comments on the interior font. Somebody else mentioned that as well, and so I will revisit that and check that out.
Yeah, I think that you could do a lot with the interior. So.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about your cover too. Hi, everybody. Hi, John, Christine, Christina. I don't know who ML is, but hello. Tiffany, Heather. Hi, Heather. Hi, Arlene.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Larissa. Wow, there's a bunch of people in here now. We didn't realize there was a bunch of people in the waiting room. So we'll just give it a few more minutes and then we'll get going. We can drag Clay on the pavement.
I'm just gonna sit here.
Just kidding.
Just try to ignore what's going on.
if anybody actually knew what was going on, they would know that you are far superior of a designer than me. It's just fun to talk crap.
She's lying.
I'm not. Clay is way more seasoned. I just decided I was an expert and then decided to stand next to Clay and yeah, let's do that.
That's imposter syndrome.
That's kind of what happened. You can admit it. It's fine. Larissa stayed up late for this. It's midnight there.
Wow.
I know. Thank you. Where are you, Larissa? I don't know if she can hear me. I think she's in here, isn't she? Yeah, there she is. Hi, Larissa. 8 a.m. there. Where is everybody? In the Netherlands.
Oh my.
Cindy, New York. Wow. I'm in Colorado. We just moved to Colorado from Northern Virginia, and it's very different here. All right, homie. What do you think we get started?
We could do it. You ready?
Well, how do you want to do this? First,
Hong
Hong Kong.
People waiting to come in, so let me get Stella and Charlotte
Hi, Misty.
are in. Okay.
So ladies first, Clay, you want to go first?
Go ahead if you like. I think you may be a little bit more prepared than I am. So.
I was joking. I was calling you guys. I know I'm not a lady. My mouth does not let me call myself a lady. I'm going to try really hard to not cuss tonight, though. I'm trying to be a better person.
She keeps telling me that. We'll see how it goes.
I know, right? Clay, did you see? I told everybody that you might have peed in the water.
What?
I said, we're getting started in our cover design Zoom. Who's ready to watch me whoop Clay Anderson? Come on, the water's warm. Clay probably peed. By the way, I'm the funniest person I know. So, sorry. My own jokes, which is
Well, what I don't know sometimes is probably a good thing.
I made Chris a shirt that said my wife is the funniest person I know. He actually wears
Wear it? That's the question. Does he wear it?
Yeah, he does all the time.
Really? All right.
Yes, I know. He's a sucker. All right. So I am actually not at all prepared. I haven't done anything. All I did was clean up Julia's file because it was kind of a hot mess. No offense, Julia. I have everything labeled though so that I can easily navigate and play with things. So which one do you want to start with, Clay?
I think I will start with, if you want me to go first? Beatrice's title, the community, Kumi's big community.
All right, do a screen share.
Oh, who's muted? Who's not muted? I'm gonna mute.
But I think they realized it. They started whispering.
Yeah, right. I think it was.
This stuff cracks me up.
All right. Okay, so we'll let me jump in. Get the screen share going. So this looks different, Beatrice, than what you had sent us.
Why don't you show what she sent?
Yeah, let me pull that up. So here's what we received, which was in PowerPoint with some text here, which is not bad. So it's a good start. And but I really like the illustration. I figured there's quite a lot that could be done with this cover. So we'll bring it over here into Photoshop. Copy some of the. Oh, I'm gonna have to hide my windows here. So I just threw the text in. We'll get back to that in a little bit. We'll have a gradient layer. I think I'm going to.
Just 1 second. We wanted to mention that we may not be able to finish the covers this time. I think last time we were on Zoom for over 3 hours. So I think that Clay and I had agreed that we would set a timer and work on each cover for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
just so that we can get to all 4 and not be on here for the whole night. All right, so I set the timer for you, friend.
Okay, sounds good. So I think one of the first things I'm going to do is, and this may or may not be what you're hoping for, Beatrice, but I think I'm going to go with a square format just to give myself a little bit more room. So we're going to 1 and lock it to the bottom. So basically this area at the top. We'll take this and
Hey, Clyde, you go in the waiting room. I'm not able to see.
yeah, I'll try to keep on top of it. I guess you.
I don't know why
you
I'm
the
not
host.
able to do
I could make you the host instead if that's easier.
Oh, I see. I
'Cause I
thought
think
we
that's
would be host. That's so weird.
no. There you are. You're the host. So now you can let people in. Okay, so we've got gradient in the background, which I think works pretty well. But then this image came over when we copied it from PowerPoint with the white here. So I'm gonna just grab some of this and do some quick selection here to get rid of the white. Masked it the opposite way here. So this may not be perfect, but that's okay. All right. So, which does lead to one thing we should probably point out is that it is hard to do the job sometimes when you have a like PowerPoint is really not the tool for doing this kind of layout in, and so it does end up creating some workflow issues and such formatting issues. So I'm not going to worry about that little bit of white in there. So you get the idea of this cover. I think the illustration is fantastic. I love it. I'm actually going to stretch our. I'm going to stretch the gradient a little bit. Give us more to work with. So this, I think, yeah, there's a lot of good here. I do not have layered illustrations. One of the things I would probably recommend, and we can try this just by moving this illustration around, but oops, my center point here. So there's a lot of kind of unused space to the left and right here. I'm going to just kind of move that out of the stop. Mouse is acting up, sorry. Move that out of frame and try to give ourselves, we still get the sense of, yeah, we're in a lot of trash sitting around, but get our characters larger and more central. And we still get the mood being set by the trash and such around. But I think, let's see. I'd probably, for sake of time, I won't mess with it too much, but I would probably mess around with the gradient a little bit more, get a little bit of a smoother gradient in there. Now, yeah, big thing here, of course, is the title. So Toomey's Big Community Cleanup. And I think I'm going to put these on separate layers so we can mess around with them. One of the first things I end up doing is picking a font, and so this is what's this called? Font Awesome, Font Base. It's the company is I think called Font Awesome, but anyway, and so it allows me to kind of browse through my fonts relatively quickly here. Size this down a little bit so I can get in here. A font creator that I use a lot of his fonts. He starts all his fonts with DK. If you go to hanodedfonts.com, HANODED fonts.com, you'll see his stuff. So And I've mentioned these fonts before. I think I've got that right. There we go. Yep. So great selection of fonts. Really, that's where so much of the font selection process starts is getting some good font providers. Kimberly Eswine is another one, and then Hello Literacy is the third that I've recommended repeatedly. And great fonts. These ones are they're $5 a piece, even for commercial use. Just fantastic, and really great selection. So anyway. These are by Jen Jones. So yeah, usually what I end up starting is by finding a font that I think works pretty well. And again, I'm going into this fresh. I mean, Katie and I have seen these covers just briefly, so this is really real time. We're not doing anything that we've rehearsed ahead of time. So I'm looking at this illustration thinking, okay, it's kind of got a comic feel. Usually I want to pick a font that that matches that. So some thin lines, that sort of thing. Yeah, lots of personality curve to the strokes. They're not brush strokes, they're more ink strokes. So so anyway, like this one here, DK Haramau, that I might use that. It's not going to be a title font, but that may work well for instance, for the bylines. And so now you'll probably hear Katie and I say a lot of times, for sake of space, I usually get rid of the writtens and the illustrated by. Sometimes I'll include those inside, like on the title page or something like that. What I'm going to do here, grab this color and give myself a little bit more space at the bottom to work with. All right, so that does two things. It moves up my illustration a little bit. Oops. That's what I'm doing. Oh, I wanted this to. A little bit more of that. Scratch that out. Okay. So that gives me a little bit more breathing room at the bottom, which I think will be good. And this font isn't too bad. I'd probably try a few others before I stuck with this one. But again, for sake of time, we're gonna try to go pretty fast on things tonight. If you do, leave both names there. A lot of times I'll put an ampersand between them, maybe a pike. It could do sometimes even just like two dots, two colons. Can give it just kind of a separator between those. And then if you do choose to leave the words on there, illustrated by. Oh, first of all, change fonts over there. Sorry, illustrated by. A lot of times, what I will do is go quite a bit smaller and then change the color. Maybe go a little darker, keep it in the same shade, but make it so it doesn't stand out as strongly. And then I'll grab another one, line those up over here. So I guess this is written by over here. So something like that. I'm not happy with that, but that's I also have to spell written correctly, which helps. But something like that, where you get a little bit of personality to it. You could do it more like this. have a weird issue that's been going on with my Photoshop recently where it doesn't keep the tool I selected, and apparently it's a bug that's been in Adobe products for years that nobody wants to fix. I hate it when I find one of those. But it does happen. Okay, so just by means of a few examples there, you can see the different ways you can approach that. So and
Looks good.
what's that?
Said that looks good.
Yeah, so that's a start, and that gets those out of the way. Then obviously we need a title, and I'm going to do. There's a great opportunity with a word like big to actually make it big, and so we'll probably do that. Community is probably a little bit of a lesser important word, but the cleanup is obviously huge. So, and to me, the name is going to be less important in terms of communicating to your user, or not user. I'm used to working on websites, so we talk about users all the time. Your reader, and so we'll include the Toomey's name there, but it'll be a little bit smaller. You want to make sure, again, we often talk about visual hierarchy, and making sure that, first of all, it adds visual interest when all of the words are not the same size, but it also allows you to emphasize the words that are truly important. So let's see. I'm going to try this canoodle one here and see what that looks like. Which one did I change? There we go, community. Okay. Obviously, I have to jack up these sizes a lot. Bigger.
So something I see often when people send us their cover files is that they have all of the text for the title on one layer, and it makes it really hard to for you to do your own cover. Just giving some unsolicited feedback here. See if you notice what Clay's doing is putting each word on its own layer so that it can each word can have its own character.
Makes it a lot easier. One of the things you can do, fonts are great, but they're not always accurate. One of the things I've just been working on this week with my upcoming book is going through each page and actually hand adjusting the spacing between every letter from because some fonts like this font is pretty good, but there are some fonts where like the space between the N and the I is bigger than the space between the U and the N, and it ends up kind of looking unprofessional and inconsistent. And so there are certain fonts where it takes some hand adjustment. Like I would say like the space between the U and the S is too much. So I would go in here and I would actually reduce that a little bit, so that and this is lots of detail work that goes into some of these things. To me, it's worth it because, and this font is kind of jumping around a little bit every time I make a change. It hops a little bit, but I'm not quite sure. Some fonts act up like that. But anyway, I will often do that kind of detailed work for a final design to just make it pixel perfect. I want it exactly right. And there's a level of professionalism that comes with that I think is pretty crucial. So, all right. So, I'm not particularly fond. I picked a font that is all caps, and that doesn't always work really well. A little harder to read sometimes. That I might not stick with that if I was going to proceed. The challenge here is in terms of the layout of the font, layout of the title. I feel a little crowded for space. One of the things you can do too, like if there's something in your way, like in this illustration here, I don't like that little bit and piece sticking up through there, so I'm just going to mask it out. Oops. So a mask basically is something you add to a layer, and where it's white, the layer shows through. Where it's black, it gets hidden. So if I paint in black, it hides it. If I paint in white, it shows it. So I use masking a lot because it doesn't destroy the illustration behind it. It just blanks out certain parts of it. So, so I'm able to hide that. But if I want to bring it back, if I move the text around and want to bring it back, I can do so very easily. And so it's a non-destructive way to edit. So I'm going to go with something a little bit like this. I'm not sure I'm happy with how this layout is coming together. I was thinking something a little bit more vertical might work, but the space that I've got to work with here is a bit more horizontal. This is a long title, and so stacking it allows me to kind of block it in, but then I'm going to try something here. So if we were to do something like this, make Toomey and his little rat friend a little bigger. That changes the dimensions of the space that I've got a little bit. And at that point in time, it may make a little bit more sense to maybe even line these up. Whoops. Photoshop keeps acting up. But at this point in time, you get a little bit more of a block. And not thoroughly happy with that. Part of it is it's kind of facing the wrong way. I do like Toomey facing the way he's facing, so I'm not sure that I want to flip the illustration. We can try it and see. One of the things you've probably heard us talk a lot about is generally speaking, you want the momentum, the visual momentum of your cover to flow from left to right. The reason being is that you open the book on the right, kind of guiding people into the book. It's kind of a natural flow. We read left to right. So, and the visual path that your eye tends to follow is shaped like a Z, where you start top left, move across, down, and then to the bottom right, and that's when you tend to open the book. So following a visual structure that does that helps guide your reader's eye. I'm actually going to back out some of these changes just because I'm not sure that this is going to work the way I want it to. But again, we're doing short, fast, and trying to get this as good as we can get in the short amount of time. So one of the things I probably would do here, like I might take, because Toomey is a name, I might try to make that mixed case as opposed to the full uppercase that we've got for these others. And so if you have an uppercase font, you can still kind of approximate casing by just making your title one a little bigger. Sometimes that kind of messes with the look and feel of the font though, so I'm not sure that I like that either. Let's go back. I'm going to go back to my fonts. Let's try cover up here. See if that looks a little better, or at least for this one, maybe. The selection of fonts, I'm kind of just pulling from this one designer's stack of fonts here. Typically, I would go through 20, 30 fonts usually before selecting one, especially for a title font, just because you want to get just the right one that matches your illustration. And so there's a lot of choice there and a lot of intentional selection. And the first one you choose is not usually the right one. And so I'm going to try this DK Bupkis here. So even though I'm pulling all from a single font maker here, I'm not sure that I would do that. Typically, I would be pulling. So I'm wondering if making this a little bit more of a name angling it a little bit. I'm going to make it bigger. And then we'll overlap it here. And then one of the things I often do is pull, change the order here. Oops. Is pull a color from the illustration, and that what that really does is connect it. So especially if you can do something like this, your main character Toomey right here, he's wearing a blue shirt, so putting his name in blue kind of makes that connection there. And then I'm not terribly fond of that T. It's a little slender, so I might, sometimes you can get away with making it a little fatter, but then it messes with the spacing a little bit, so that your mileage may vary there. But all right, so again, let's move them over a little bit, and I won't make them quite as big. Oops, quite as big, but I am gonna.
That's so much better, Clay. Wow.
So you already get this. We bring this down in here. Now you get a little bit of overlap with some of the illustration. We're going to go even bigger on this. Once you have your layout looking decent, you can do that. But I think one of the things I'll often transform there. A lot of times, once I create a title like that, I'll put it in a group. So the new group from layers, the layers that I have selected, it turns them into a group. So I'll call that title. And then what I can do is I can actually apply an effect to the entire title and all the layers that are within it. So like we're going to do a drop shadow here. And I feel like a soft drop of shadow wouldn't look good here because the illustration itself doesn't have gradients in it. It's really hard lines. Like if you see even the colors on his shirt, it's two shades of blue. There's not a blending between them. The only place we have a gradient is in the background. So all of the other colors are solid. So I don't really want to add a blur to it. But what I can do is we'll move some distance here and change the angle of it. So I can do that a little bit. But you know, if I added size, that blurs the shadow. I'm going to bring it down to 0. I'm also going to bring it up to completely opaque, and then I'm going to pull like color one of these gray shades from the illustration. Change this a little bit so it's just it puts it's a little dark for me. Let's see if I can find a lighter shade of gray. Oh, the other thing is that the drop shadow generally has what's called the blend mode is multiply, which means it shows elements that are behind it and color behind it. So some of that orange in the back in the sunset is kind of bleeding through. So I'm going to change this to normal, which actually just is the straight up color as I selected it. And then we'll darken this out a little bit the way it was. Pull that color from there. Still a little, there's too much going on here. It's busy, and I'm not fully happy with that. Oops. That's the title, whole thing. But you can see we've made quite a bit of progress, and so there's other things we could do here. Maybe move clean up over there, stack these, and then maybe Toomey's just comes over. It's even bigger over here. So again, I'm far from finished here. I would probably spend another at least another half an hour moving things around before I locked in. But for sake of time, I'll leave this one as is here. Just this.
We're literally at 25 minutes right now. You have like.
Well, that's what I was noticing. I kind of set a timer for myself, so one of the things you want to notice, like if there's elements that are hanging on the edge that are kind of catching your eye, just try to get rid of them. And so try to visually keep things as clean as you can. Again, if I had access to more of a layered illustration, maybe we could do a little bit more of that. But anyway, yeah. So it's not my best work, but I think it's a big step in the right direction. So. Any questions from? I'll save this out, and Beatrice, I can send this along to you if you want to have a Photoshop file to play with. Any questions just from anyone about process or ideas or anything?
I have a question.
Go for it.
How do I get to be as cool as you?
You have to be invited to do one of these kind of.
This is so much better, Clay.
So, it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah, I mean, like it's already night and day better. I think everyone would agree.
So this is just to revisit. This is where we started. This is actually I kind of like this font choice, and that would be possibly a good option for the final. I don't think I have this particular one on my computer, but anyway, I think that's a good selection. It's just a matter of adding a little bit more interest to it, making it a lot bigger, and then trying to integrate it with your illustration so that it really plays into it. So.
Clay,
Yeah.
the sloth, are you going to do that one next? I'm asking because Charlotte's asking. She said it's 1 a.m. where she is.
Oh, is it really?
Were we able to pull the? Are you going to be able to use the?
I have that one. Yeah.
I'm happy to go if you want me to. We can go back and forth, or you can work on hers now, and then I'll do the next.
She's there. Let's see what we can do. So.
All right, there you go, Charlotte. There's your answer. He's the best.
Let's see. All right. So, one of the things I wanted to see here. Okay, so this is what we started with. I'm gonna download this real quick. We'll open this in Photoshop. So this was admittedly, this was the one. She mentioned this was just a mock-up she started doing in Canva, and just taking some of the illustrations. Perfectly fine to start there. Canva probably is not going to give you the power you need to do a really strong cover. So that is one of the challenges you're going to run into there. It's a great tool for doing quick off marketing pieces and for enhancing a lot of your what we would call design collateral for your author and publishing business. You know, if you're making up stuff for social media, if you're making postcards, if you're making stuff like that, Canva, absolutely. I mean, take advantage of their templates and all of that sort of thing. For book design, it's probably generally going to be underpowered for that. So, all right. So we have this. Susie Sloth and Her Secret Superpower is our title, and this is about Pilates and breath work. So, and we have some badges here. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to all of that stuff. Sorry, my Zoom bar is in the way. I'm going to move it out of the way here. But some really cute illustrations. I really love how this comes out. In fact, I even like the title treatment here. So I think I'm gonna grab this out of. So I'm gonna start. By the way, make sure. Typically, whenever you're designing, if you're doing the design yourself, make sure you're in 300 resolution. And typically, you know, like if you're doing a 10 by 10 inch cover, you might be like that, but then you also need some bleed room around the edge, which is basically extra illustration around the edges of all of your designs, whether it's cover design, interior design. And the reason for that is when they do the print, they print beyond the edges of where it gets cut, and then it gets cut down. And so that's why, I don't know why Amazon has such a problem with this with KDP, but you get those white edges, those should never show up after the cutting, because it should be printed beyond where that cut line is. And so you should never have white text, but for some reason, KDP's process seems to encounter that problem all the time. But that's what bleed is. You have design that goes beyond the edges of your print, and then when they cut it to size, you don't have to worry about white edges showing up because there's plenty of room there. So typically, it's about 1/8 of an inch bleed around all the edges. So if you're doing if you have 1/8 of an inch on top and bottom, left and right, then it's about 1/4 of an inch total that you're adding. So, and then a lot of times what I'll do is actually put in specify these, but you can basically drag these guides to, like this one, it would be at 0.125, and so I do those. I won't perfect them here, but before I do my design, I bring those around and then put those on all sides so that I know those are my, what's beyond that is my bleed, and what's inside of that, this part is, this part is where the trim would be. So that's when they cut it down, that's the size you'd actually see. And then generally speaking, with design as well, you want 1/2 inch of safety margin, where anything beyond 1/2 an inch or closer than 1/2 an inch to the edge, you don't want any important text, design elements, characters, anything like that within that 1/2 inch margin, because it's too close to the edge. It's going to look weird, and it could also get cut off. So at this point, this would be 0.625 because I've got my margin, my bleed 0.125. So somewhere around 0.625 here would be my safety margin. So that's that gives me 1/2 inch. So if I do that all around, just I'm eyeballing these, but that means that all of your important stuff should be within that frame. It will print all the way to this outer box, but the inner box should be where all of your important stuff is. Okay. So here we have Susie Sloth and her special superpower.
If you need it, Arlene said that font is Chaloops.
Chaloops?
Yep.
How is that spelled?
CHA Loops, LOOPS. It's all one word.
Okay. I have Adobe fonts installed, so I could probably just do that. So that's a nice font. I like that.
Yeah. I know.
Freed. A lot of fonts. You can get a version of them for free. Just because you can download it for free does not mean you have license to use it, and so just be careful of that. Sometimes it's basically a promotional version that they'll allow you, and they'll allow you to use it for personal things, but not to actually use in a commercial setting. So just be careful of that. Looks like, if I can get a quick free version. Looks like this one is paid almost everywhere. So it's from Cenk Diesel, who's fairly well known. There we go. Should be logged in with. All right, look at that, just that easy. All right, so like the color choice there as well. So great use of fonts there. I'm going to bring down the spacing here. This is again where, this is very useful when you're doing, when you're working with like a cartoony font. You can really move letters around, like this here is the baseline setting for letters. So I can actually raise the letter up and down. If you separate letters into their own layers, you can rotate them and that kind of stuff, which adds a little interest as well. And you can play with that a lot to add some visual interest to your. Oops. Other thing that I sometimes do is, like, if this one feels a little bit wide, narrow it a little bit. The space between the S and the I looks a little wide, so I'm going to bring that in. You really want to. There's a lot of hand manual work that goes into good typography, and so it's important that you don't just type it in and assume that that's good enough. Most of the time, it's not, quite honestly. And so I'll spend a lot of time hand tweaking, like I mentioned, that kind of thing. The other thing that I'll often do is do some slight variations on color. So like go a little bit lighter, or maybe a little bit yellower, and so it just adds a little bit. It's not very far off, and then maybe every other letter sort of thing. You pick. Pick up that color, and so it just adds a little visual dynamicness to your title. All right, pretty good. And then her special superpower. I actually really like the all lowercase here, and that's a nice design choice you can make, where you're essentially your subtitle can be rendered that way. A bit lower, and then I think this was a different weight. Yeah, there we go. So lighter yellow. Extend this out a little bit. Oops. So that's looking pretty good. And again, borrowing from the original design that you had, Beatrice, is looking great. So this wasn't Beatrice. This is, whose is this again?
It's Charlotte.
Charlotte, thank you. Sorry for getting everybody here. All right. Now, we'll bring this down a little bit. That up. This is really attractive to me. I think it really, as a title, could work really well. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it fits in with what we're going to do. So now we need to go find our character. There's lots of good options to choose from here. I'm not quite sure which one I like best, quite honestly. I think I'm going to try this one, though. I think this may be one of those things where there's so many good options you could really play around with this. This works well as a nice centered option, and so where your character is essentially filling the cover. And maybe a little big here, so we'll size it down a little bit. What I'd probably do is, if I was going to do this, is essentially fill this space behind, so that the log there extends the full width. Some of that white. Mask around the edges here. So just and then this is a kind of an important detail to notice too. Notice that this is not pure black. This is off black, and that actually can soften and give a different feel to your illustrations, and to make it not pure black, not pure white. And it's a very useful design and illustration technique. Whoops. Sorry, wrong buttons here all over the place. All right, so there's that. Bring this down a little bit. So we basically extend that. Oh, I've got a hard black edge. This is a little bit soft. But anyway, there you go. And Susie's already looking quite a bit better. So you notice like her nails, I'm dipping a little bit into the safety margin there. That's okay. As long as, you know, we don't want the nails cut off. So we want to make sure we're still a bit from the trim line there. Now, there's not a lot of connection between the title at the top and Susie at the bottom. So one of the things we could do there is, again, utilizing a color connection and pulling colors from your illustration is really a great way to do that, and gives it a lot more connection between the two. You don't want, Katie said this a lot, you don't want your illustration and your title, your design to look like they were done by two different people. You essentially want the design to look like it was done by the illustrator, even if it wasn't. And so that they work together, they're a cohesive composition, and they're not, it's not just a design laid on top of the illustration. Now, one of the things we might do here, we've just got white in the background. I'm wondering whether we want to maybe just do a real pale blue. Something like that. Oops. Let's put that, and that's probably even too strong for my taste. Just white again. Fade this out a little bit. Oh, I mean, also turn upside down. Oops. Upside down is what I was trying to do, vertical. Let's see which one. Sometimes one can feel different than the other. So it gives a little bit more personality. Back to this, we got some other design assets here, or illustration assets, as it were, that we might be able to pull in. Not sure. It's, you know, this is a little busy for that purpose. But it might be good, like if we don't have that here, but to put some of this grass, if we had some of that grass just behind. Oops,
Emailed that file clip in color.
what's that?
That file with that picture with the snake, she had emailed that previously in a different
Oh,
account.
okay.
I don't know if that's useful for you, but she did send it.
Yeah, I don't know if I have time to go searching for it, but you know, like what I could do here is just it's a little bit thick. See, I'm not an illustrator. Katie will add the illustrations and stuff. I will destroy them. So, but point being, you could do some of that to, if you had actual talent, not me, to put a little grass or something like that on the sides, leaves to add just a little bit more context to that cover. But yeah, now let's go back to this. We did want to include this here. Grab this square selection here. It's tiny. But something like that might work well over to the side. It also kind of looks like an award badge, quite honestly, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So you could utilize that in there. Tuck it up a little bit closer to the title. And then by Charlotte Marsh. So we got some good space down here on this. Where did my text go? Yes, it's the same color. So there we go. There we go. Charlotte. Sorry about that, Charlotte. Can we leave it that way? I kind of like it that way. So.
I can't with you.
How about that? Okay, fine. We'll change it back. But you know, this works fine. I like this font quite a lot. I'm probably going to keep this installed in my system. But now using the same font for both the byline here at the bottom and the subtitle at the top connects those, gives that a good look and feel. And then Pilates and breath work, like that is probably an important thing that we want to. Knows how I type that. When you're typing off screen, you have no idea whether you're typing it right or not. Right? So, hey, look, I did okay. So this might be something. I don't have a ton of room here. Let me see if I can move this down a little bit. What it might be good is to put this in a little ribbon or something like that, instead of just having it sitting here by itself. And a separate font for this would probably be useful. Let me go back over here. And again, I'm doing a very quick and dirty job of font selection. What did I do? Okay, clicked on the wrong thing. Let's go to Kimberly's fonts. Let's see. How about this blank space? Oh, it's a little heavy, but we'll try it. So something like that. It's a little heavier than I'd like, but maybe do all caps. Maybe not. I'm sure I like that, but essentially it just puts a little slug above it, something like that. I'm not convinced that's the best place for it either. We'll pull a color in, perhaps, maybe just brown. And this is another place you might consider putting this is actually under. Let me move. That, and then maybe this could even fit in right here. It's a little tight, but change that color so that it's like that. Yeah, I'm not sold on any of those options at this point, but there would be some different places where we could potentially move that. So there you go. So I'll stop there with this cover. We'll hide our borders there, our guides. But you can see where we went from something like this over to something like this. You're capturing almost entirely the same information, but you're presenting it, getting your character front and center, getting a nice, clear title. You guys have heard me repeat myself in our Facebook group. You know, anytime you're working on a cover, your most important element is your title. Your character is actually secondary to that. Your character will grab attention, but what you want your reader to walk away with is remembering your title. And so it needs to be readable. It needs to be readable, even if it's like a small thumbnail on Amazon or on the web. So even if it's just small rendition of your cover, you need to be able to read that. At least obviously the subtitle here, that's fine. But Susie Sloth should be visible no matter what, so that sticks with your readers. So. Any questions, thoughts?
I just have a thought.
Bad jokes?
I have lots of those.
I know that. That's
I'm trying to talk louder because everyone said they couldn't hear me. The only thing that I think that this is missing is I'm not getting Charlotte. I think that you might want to talk to your illustrator. This is a great composition. Clay did a great job. But if I'm looking at this like I would, very objectively, I'm not getting from the illustration that she has a superpower. So I might try to add something in there that, helps explain what that is. Even if it's shown something silly like stars around the illustration, something.
Would any of these do that any better for you, Katie? Like,
What?
would any of these other illustrations, like, would this be any better?
If I were going to do this cover, I would have taken the one with her on the log.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that what you did is great. I'm just speaking strictly from like an illustration perspective, Charlotte. I might try and add in some whimsical stars or something that's indicative of like superpowers, so that you're, at a glance, you're getting that feeling, right? Because you may not have that time, that split second time for someone to read your whole title. You kind of want your illustration to encapsulate that. Do you agree, Clay? Or am I speaking out of my butt again?
No, I think that's a very good point. And one of the things that, as you consider your title or your cover, you really want to you want to know going in what kind of reaction you want from your reader emotionally, what they think, what they what takeaway they have, what they intuitively understand about your character and about your book. So I think that's important to touch on, especially when you have a book like this that is aimed at a very specific topic that you can do that. Yeah. One of the things to consider with things like this, like these are great character sketches. If we used this log or this illustration for the cover, the log would need to be extended to go off the top corner there. And then what we'd probably do is put the title down here. Some sort of stacked fashion here. But I love this little knowing look that she's got in her face. It's
I like that the eyes are open too. It allows you to connect with the character a lot better than the one where her eyes are closed.
That is true. She's got a cute smile here, but yeah, the eyes open is great, and that kind of a confident, knowing grin that she's got.
Right, and she's looking towards the book opening.
Yep.
And if you were to tilt that a little bit, I think you could fit more text in there too. But I think that either illustration is great. They're all really good character mock-ups. And I love what you did with the two-tone green. I'm gonna steal that. I've never done that.
Oh, I use that too often. So that's one of my secret weapons. So
my secret weapon is adding wind to like everything.
Yeah, right. That's true.
I think that's probably because I have 4 sons, if you know what I mean.
No, duly noted. So
Bad jokes.
yeah, right. I see a bunch of. I haven't been monitored in the chat window. Anything there we need to address or? So.
Someone suggested maybe adding. Marianne said, "Is this considered a gradient background?" And is
what
it
I've got here?
ADP sometimes prints gradients strangely, and textured backgrounds may be a safer alternative.
Okay, that's good to know. Typically, if you're doing offset, you shouldn't have trouble with that. But
it was a question she was asking.
I see.
Is it true? I haven't experienced that, Marianne, personally, and I think that textured backgrounds, in and of themselves, are tricky. So there's a cover that was submitted. It has like a canvas texture, and it's beautiful. It just makes finding a font that feels like it's cohesive a little bit more challenging. So personally, I steer away from textured backgrounds, and I kind of gravitate towards gradient when I have the option. But yes, this would be considered a very subtle gradient background because it starts at white and goes to a very light blue.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. I think I'm off mute, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So because for mine, I initially had a much deeper gradient, like a much darker fade. And so someone had mentioned that KDP might print that weirdly, but also if like gradients were used a lot in kind of like a decade or two, or the past decade or two, and so people are starting to veer away from that. But I didn't know if that's actually the case or.
I think that I think that if you're looking at things from a design perspective, I'm not seeing like trends, things that are cool, you know, or things that are not cool or whatever. I mean, honestly, I think that every book is designed for that specific book and not necessarily to follow trends. I think that topics are more trendy than design work.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Do you agree, Clay?
I would, yeah. There, like in when I'm doing other sorts of design, whether it's logos or website design or stuff like that, there's definite trends, and you know, you can tell a design that's from 10 years ago, that kind of thing. I don't think it is nearly as strong on the book design side. There are, I would say, there's more illustration style trends than there is design trends.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Okay, thanks. I'll revisit that then.
In
Thank you.
general, like textures, I think, and I actually think it's intended to be this way. I think textures, when they're added, are intended to make things look a little bit more dated or a little bit more non-digital. Even if the illustrations were created with digital mediums, I think that people add texture so that they don't look so digital.
That's true, and really the only way that almost always prints really badly, and looks cheap. Really, the only way to do that is to print on kind of a more like an uncoated paper or something like that, where the actual paper itself is providing that texture, as opposed to you know, trying to fake it with a digital effect.
So actually on that then, if it's so the look, I don't even know right now if it's technically called gradient, but it's almost like, it's very subtle, but it's almost a little bit as if the background paper looked a little crumbled, if you can imagine that. So it's like, but it's very, very subtle. So is something like that also a concern if it's so I'm actually probably going to do offset, but I don't know if that's going to be a problem too, or like tough to print.
You know, one of the things that I do, this is pro tip right here. Before I send my files to a printer, we actually have a high quality laser color printer here in the office. And if you don't have one accessible to you, you know, hopefully there's a Vistaprint or you know, even a Walgreens or something like that near you where you can actually get a high quality laser print. And just doing that, it's not going to give you perfect color like you're going to get with offset, but it will actually give you a sense. Things look so different on screen than they do in print, and so it actually gives you a good sense of, is this going to print well or is this going to look terrible? And by doing that, I almost always see some changes, like, oh, that doesn't look good in print, or those colors look fine on screen, but next to each other in print, they really clash, or they like yellows and blues sometimes don't work well together in print. So anyway, that's something I almost always do before I send files off. It's kind of like a cheap way of doing a hard proof without having the printer have to do it for you and spend $150 for them to send it to you.
Okay.
That's a lot of times what they do. When they give you a proof, they're not actually setting up offset printing. They're running it through a laser printer and just sending you the copy, saying, you know, this is what we got. So it's a way to do that yourself.
Got it. Okay. I will go in search of a good laser printer. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the challenge is finding. But they're usually not too expensive. Maybe you have to print them off. It's, you know, $2 or $3 a page, and so I get a few pages done to get an idea. So anyway,
Got it. Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, Clay, I don't see any more questions. Anybody have anything else before I try and go second after all of this good work? Poopy.
So I want to go first, right?
Poopy, I know. I've adopted Clay's word poopy instead of using bad language. All right, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen now. Wait, let me click off all of these bad websites I'm on. Just kidding. All right, so I've had a hard time deciding which covers I want to work on because there are so many that I've just felt inspired by. But this is one, Julia's cover, that I just felt like had so much potential. So this is what Julia sent us, and I asked her to send me the one with 1,000,000 layers so that I could kind of sort through them and see, you know, what we could use and start from scratch there. So I'm looking at all of the different things that she's got here. So this was another option that she had for the front cover, which I really love this one. I think that of all of the options you had in here, Julia, this is the strongest one, and Clay agreed. We were on screen share when we were looking at these.
That was designed by a cover designer. So
Yeah, this is definitely the strongest one. Because I think that you and Clay had at some point had a conversation about this title, I had asked him if you were married to this font, and he said that you seemed pretty attached to it, but
to the font or to the title?
to the font.
No, that's I'm open to anything at this point, honestly.
Okay, because to me it looks a little bit like sludge.
Okay.
I think that the intention was more like icing, maybe because of the cupcake.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to guess, but I think that it kind of brings up like a swamp creature feeling for me. Something
Okay.
that Clay and I often discuss in the webinars that we give are, you know, the feeling that that you get from a font. Every font has a personality, and it brings on different emotions when you look at them. And that font for me just feels sludgy. So I didn't really have any opportunity to play with this ahead of time. I mean, the only thing I did was, I don't know if you can see here my layers here. I cleaned up everything.
Okay.
So that everything is organized so that I can play with it as we're talking. So the one thing that I did do is I just started changing the font. Literally, this was the first one that I chose, and I'm not married to this one, but I wanted everything to be on its own layer so that we can play with the treatment. So one thing I like to do when I first start a cover, if I have this sort of freedom, where I'm starting literally from scratch. I've got elements, I've got a title. I don't really know what I want in terms of composition. I try to find a layout with the title that I really enjoy, and then I work the illustration around it, because I think you heard Clay say this earlier. Font first, illustration second is incredibly important for the cover, because you know, most people shop digitally nowadays, and you know, you need the people to be able to read the title. Can everybody hear me okay, by the way? I don't know if that improved when I started to share my screen.
Yeah,
So,
we can hear
what?
I said I can hear you good, so it's not strong.
My big mouth. Okay, so one thing that Clay and I also often talk about is hierarchy of text. And there's obviously some text here that is less important. So birthday, I think, is pretty important. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. A, not important at all. So I'm going to make that a little bit smaller, way smaller. And so can you trap? I think that can you is probably not so important, but trapping, I think that is a little bit more important than the rest of it. I know that I did ask him also, because we kind of had the same thought. Can you catch a birthday Merkle? Honestly, I think that with that alliteration, it's a much more catchy title, but I know that this is your title, and so we're going to work with this, but you may consider it just because it does roll off your tongue a little bit more. And I know that you've got the can you catch, or can you whatever. It sounds a lot like mainstream stuff, but
Right.
there's no harm in that. I can tell you that I have recently opened up some bookstores, and those How to Catch a Dragon, How to Catch a Dinosaur, all that series, I literally cannot keep them on the shelves. So
I was concerned about, you know, copying. I don't want, and it's not the same book at all.
yeah,
So I just wasn't, I was concerned about that.
I gotcha. I mean, it makes sense. It just the alliteration is cool. It's fun.
Right. I get
All
it.
right, so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to make it a little bit more playful and fun. I'm going to go through and obsess over the details like Clay does too, because that's what we do. I think that makes the difference between a good design and a bad one. It's just the space between and changing some weights and stuff. And then I'm going to take all of this and make it that, maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna probably change my mind like 10 times. So that's just, I think that a lot of us do that. Sometimes I will decide I don't want everything to be on one line, and I want individual letters because I have more freedom there. I think that's what we're gonna do here. Somebody likes me. It's probably not Clay. Clay hates me. I got Clay stuck into this situation tonight. I bullied him. I was like, bro, we're gonna do another one. It's been like a year. And he made time for all of us. Isn't that cool, Clay?
Well,
He's got a million kids.
Katie first, like, when it was like 2 years ago, like, hey, you want to do a Facebook cover group with me? Like, we didn't even know each other at the time. Like, yeah, sure, why not? And little did I know what I was going to get myself into.
Yeah, what was really funny about that is I was pregnant, and then I abandoned him for like 6 months with managing the group by himself.
You did. Like, I guess I'll take over. I guess I'll respond to everybody.
Yeah, sorry. I also have ADHD, and I lose interest in things pretty quickly. It's not you, it's me.
It's kind of the way of creatives that we're constantly.
All right, so I could play with this a whole lot more, and I probably will tweak it a little bit, but I do want to bring in some illustration elements here. I want to twist it because that sounds like would be a good time. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I never do anything the right way. I learned how to do Photoshop. I self-taught myself how to use Photoshop. And so a lot of these things, I probably do them the wrong way, but whatever. Okay, so I don't know if I like that one actually. Oops. Did I do that? Anyway, you see what I'm trying to do here. What I like to do really for any cover is I like things to fit in little nooks. So in these little nooks here, you can see there's a natural curve to these letters. I try to fit them in so that it just feels like it was supposed to be there, I think that design-wise, it really makes it look good. Oops.
This is really, this is where playing with fonts is so critical, and not just typing it in. And I think we both mentioned stuff about there's certain covers where it just looks like a font has been typed in, and there's just not a lot of personality to it. But you can take it and add so much interest by just moving it around, resizing, tilting.
Yeah, for sure. And I really love this font. This is called Asparagus Sprouts. Although you can see my screen and you can see that yourself. It's playful and legible, which I love for kids' books. I use this a lot for interiors, actually, when it makes sense with the illustration. Whoops. Darn it. Clay, are you proud of me? I don't think I've said one cuss word the whole time we've been on here.
Oh, well, there's still time.
I also haven't been in the driver's seat, so it's probably. All right, probably that. Okay, so I don't know how I feel about that. Let's see how it works with the illustrations, but it's a good place to start. Title first and foremost, let's make it a little bit bigger. And then there's lots of room to fit in crap everywhere, right? And the only thing I'm not sure about is what I'll put in this space up here, but let's see what we've got. So this file is awesome because she's got so many different elements. So you've got this big cool cupcake, and you've got all the little Burkles. By the way, isn't it fun as an author of children's books that we can say things like Burkles and it's totally normal? Like they exist, they're like things.
Julia, these need to be plushies. You realize?
Yeah, I know.
They are just so cute.
Let's get the book out first, and then I'll work on plush.
Right. Okay, one thing at a time.
All right. So one thing that Julia was very sure to let me know is that I don't know why I phrased it that way. She was sure to let me know that in the book you never really see a Burkle entirely, right, Julia? You don't really want to give it away on the cover, so she wants them to be hidden. So we've got to find a way to not show all of them, but also something to be conscious of is the color choices. So if I chose this pink one, anybody who looks at this cover is going to think it's a book for girls. So you don't want to use pink, you don't want to use blue, green, maybe, orange, okay. Purple is also like a girly color. So these three Burkles are really where I want to focus my attention. I really dig this guy. He's super cute. And I moved his, I did a vertical, oh no, I did. I think I flipped it back. Anyway, so just so you know, you're not limited to how they are. You can flip them, turn them, move them around, enlarge them. I think I shrunk all these. So if you don't know this about Photoshop, unless you create a smart object out of the image before you shrink it, you have just lost all that resolution. So once I reduce the image size, I can't re-enlarge it without a loss of quality. You can see that it's blurry. And that's because I had already reduced the image size. So if I want to use this, I'm gonna have to pull it back from her other file because I did that without thinking about it. In any case, so I'm going to start with this cupcake because this cupcake is awesome. And it fits really nicely right there. I really like it when things fit like that, but I'm probably going to turn it just so it has a little bit more personality and maybe put it here. So as I deal with this situation here, I'm going to be moving things around. But I don't want these to get separated. Give me 1 second while I organize my life over here. I didn't set a timer, Clay. I forgot.
That's right. Keep going. We're good.
I liked it where it was. All right. Anyway, so we're gonna look at this. The cupcake, and then let's see the Burkles. So this guy is super duper cute. The issue is just the hiding him. I mean, none of these fit perfectly behind this cupcake, so I may not use it that way. I honestly really liked the way that other designer did it, Julia, and I don't think that you did, or you would have never submitted this cover, right?
I did like it. I'm overthinking everything. That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was real. I don't even remember how she had it. Whoops, I made her chubby. It was really cute the way that she had it. He. Sorry, he. See, look at me. I'm assuming all the creatives are. Sorry, Clay. All right, so this is one way. This fits nicely here. I mean, there's just so much potential here. It's hard to choose. It's hard to choose. Not that one. Let's see. So I really dig this guy too. He's super cute. And you don't want him to see all this, right? How much is acceptable to show? Julia?
I mean, maybe half. I mean, obviously I want to lure people in, but you know,
so this, I know this
yeah.
is going to be, when people look at rainbow now, they associate it with pride.
Right.
So I was hesitant to use this, and not for any reason other than people might associate it with pride and think that that's what the book is about.
Right. All of the Burkles actually have, I think, a rainbow element.
Okay. All right. So then, totally a moot point. Oh, you know what? That's what happened. Look at this. I moved the shadow. Let's put that up. All right. So that goes there somewhere. This is not working out. So this is what happens when you don't prepare for meetings, Clay. All right.
You're doing as good as I am, as I did.
What?
You're doing as good as I did. Maybe better.
I don't know what you just said. All right. So I really, I mean, it looks like it was done on purpose, but it was just a happy accident. But do you see how this text looks like it fits right in there? I really love stuff like that. And just keep in mind what Clay was saying about bleed. So you're going to see some of this, but not all of it. If we were to leave it like that, I like the green or the orange. I think that they work really well together. So let me just pull this in for a second and see if we've got, so this orange foot is cute. Whoops.
Like just the orange foot, just kind of sticking in there.
Yeah, he's like, hello, I'm here. The rainbow braid would make me curious about what in the world that is. I like how, what is that? Is that a cupcake?
Is that the shadow of the
The rainbow braid. I was just saying if you're paying attention, Clay.
I'm all over it.
I know. Okay, so I really like that. If I'm going to use that there, I wish that this was a different color because there's a lot of orange here, but you know, what else? And then we've got some candles. I don't know that they work. Why do I keep moving them without the shadows? All right, so they've got some candles, but I don't know that they're totally necessary. Let's see. I love the background textures that we have here. Okay, so Ask Cindy. I love me some bubbles. I don't know if they're gonna work here, but let's check it out. Okay, so this is a grade bubble layer. And dude, I think I'm failing miserably here. This isn't working.
You're not.
You've got an audience here. I've got my daughters with me watching, so.
Oh, okay. No pressure. I was fine until you told me your daughter's there.
Oh, well, no,
I'm kidding. I'm just being indecisive. So I really love these bubbles, but they're not really working for me. Hi, daughter.
daughter,
I have one of those too.
I got 2 of them.
I only have one daughter. I had 4 boys first, so she's very spoiled.
Yeah.
All right, let's.
We only have 1 boy in the house, right? 1 brother, 2 girls.
All
I
right.
like kind of the party elements, but you know, again, I'm not married to anything other than.
Yeah, I gotcha. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I'm playing around. This is part of the process, unfortunately, is just trying to figure it out, you know?
Yeah, I love watching it.
I don't think we need that.
What was that?
I like the confetti.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a little too much of the bubbles as I put through your book.
Yeah, I agree.
So I might tone that down a little bit, but
Yeah,
Well,
that's,
that's how they travel. They travel by magical bubbles.
got me right. Yeah. So
of course they do. Totally normal.
Yes, of course. Hello.
Isn't it fun being a kid's book author? You can just make up stuff. All right. So I don't know where I like this, but let's see.
and you could consider doing here is like overlay some of that, but then mask out some of the.
Yeah, that was a step. Of course. I'm just trying to find where I like it. Like
Right.
elements I'm going to keep. So I like these little loopy things. That seems to work. All right, so we're going to mask out some of this, but I don't know if I'm going to keep it. Let's see. So, too much. That's interfering. That's interfering. I'm going to take some of. No. Need some green. Oops. That's not what I meant to do. Look at me, amateur hour. There we go. I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. All right, put some there. This, I think maybe it's not working in that direction. I would wonder what in the world that is, but I don't know if it's works either. What do you think, friend?
The
Yeah, I think it would be a little bit.
I love the braid there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of confusing what it is, but I guess that's kind of the point. All right.
Well, it helps with the foot, and the foot being the same color, the orange, so it looks like it's coming from a character off to the right.
Yeah. All right. The only thing we don't have here is birthday elements, so I know that would probably be important to have here.
Yeah, but we doing a question mark in the title.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I was just, again, I just want to make sure you're paying attention, friend. Is it better?
And
with-
somebody also mentioned whether about using sprinkles, and I've thought of that. I just, I've played around with sprinkles, you know, that's also, but I'd want them to look 3D like, you know, like the illustrations.
Mhm. I think I like this better here than the foot. This is such a cute little illustration. Seriously, I love it. All right, so I don't know. Let's see, what is this? No, that's really dull. All right, let me see. We need some color back here. And I'm not done with the text either, of course, but. Where is it? There's something right there. What does it need? God, no, that's definitely not it. All right, let's see here. Shut your mouth.
Oh, I'm just laughing because we all have those moments where like, I'm gonna try this, and you're like, oh, that was terrible. Why did I
That's
do that?
horrible. Except you don't have an audience of like a bunch of people.
Exactly, yeah.
watching you fail. All right, I don't like that. Let's see. If I like blue. Let's see how this works. Hello, family.
One of the things I'll comment on that I think it's so important in the whole process of making books is half of what you're doing is curating, and by that I mean you're making decisions about whether something works or not. Whether you're writing a line in your manuscript, whether you're illustrating, designing, you know, you're constantly evaluating: does this work? Does this not? And you try new things, and then you curate to keep the stuff that is worth keeping. And
Yeah, it's just when you're
self-auditing
like a
process.
blank canvas, it makes it a little bit more challenging, I think.
Oh, it does, absolutely. Yeah.
I had now he's straight. Let's see, which is a little bit of a funny joke because it's rainbow. Just kidding. I couldn't get away with it out an appropriate joke. It was just too hard. All right. I liked it better the other way. Let me go back to the text because this is just, let's see. So one thing I really liked about your text before, Julia, is that it was different colors. I think that is cute. The colors that were there were just a little bit dull, I think. So I might choose brighter colors or not so many of them.
Okay.
Maybe he needs to be. I'm losing confidence in myself here. See, I invited Clay so he can make me look bad. I'm just kidding. All right. This cupcake is just so out of proportion, you know? Let's just see what we can do here. All right, so if we did the color overlay, let's pick a cool color here. It's very dark. So something I often do also is just choose color family. So once I grab a color, anything here is going to be close to that same family. So you can pull it, you know, if you go in a linear direction, it'll be close enough where it passes. So you know, something like up here or here. I wouldn't grab something up here because that's just not going to work. But I can make it a little bit brighter and it still looks like it matches. You know what I mean? Jelly bean. Tell me you have kids without telling me you have kids. Okay, and then the birthday, I like the blue. Maybe the birthday. So I don't know if you guys experience this, but there's some days where I can rhyme and there's other days I can't rhyme. And there's some days I can draw and then there's other days I can't draw. And there's today where I can't design. So don't judge me too hard here, guys. Let's see here.
Who else thinks she's doing just fine?
Stop, I'm okay. I'm just not liking how many
Okay.
I'm not loving this composition at all. What I want to do is have it remain very fun because that's obviously the whole point, right?
Right.
With the text being the center focus. I think that what we could do here is get a little bit more creative with the placement, have the text interact a little bit more with your characters. Like, for example, have, I see, hang on.
Whoa. There's a lot of good compliments.
Yeah.
So if we were to do,
Well, I'm talking with
we were to do, and a little bit more centered.
Mommy, can I use your pen for an outline thing? My teacher showed me.
Can you use your own pens? Where's all the pens that I bought you?
But they won't work for this activity.
Why?
They won't work for this activity.
What do you
Try
need?
it.
What do you need my pens for? Okay, what do you need them for?
I'm trying to draw something that won't work with.
All right, maybe we go more simple here. Oops. Kind of like him being the focal point right there. And some confetti. Let's see here. These textures go. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, it's because my screen is way down here. Hang on. I don't know if I want it to be all different colors. Actually, I'm sure I don't. All right, let's grab this color here. I like that color. Make Burkle that color. Or do you want, maybe Burkle should be rainbow. Maybe I like that better. All right, so let's change all of these to this is also not black. It's a different color. It's got some blue and purple in it. All right, and then I'm going to take something that I like to do is add some color by, let's see, where's my pen? So Whoops. Okay, and then I'm gonna go bring this down to here. Ah, there. So now that matches his hair. And
That looks great.
I like this, this definitely ties it. And I like that this grabs the color from his eyes and it brings the attention to Burkle. So far, I like this the best. This sort of composition where it's a little bit more simple, focuses on him. I really want to use this cupcake, but honestly, I think that the reason why I'm not digging the cupcake is because of the color of the icing. It's very dull. It doesn't have that bright color. Like if the color of the icing were a little bit brighter, if like you have another cupcake that's maybe this color, I think it would work a lot better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't. That's the only one. I've played around with that just in terms of changing the colors of it, but I can only do so much.
Yeah, I gotcha. So this, I don't hate that here. It just feels like it's kind of sitting in the middle of nowhere. You know, but maybe that works. I don't know yet. Let's see. And then with the background color, I think we do need something here. Even if it's something simple like a, let's see. This is still, I don't know. I don't like that at all. So Cindy, if you're here, I think I probably redid your cover like, I don't know, 50 times before I showed it to you. So everyone gets to see all the mishaps here. But this is part of the design process, honestly. At least for me, is just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. That doesn't work. It needs something. I did see in your book that you had a lot of like real illustrations tied into your illustrations. Is that right? Or is she just that good? Like the coins?
So she created everything in plasticine and then added elements like through Procreate. So everything was created in the kind of clay elements, and then she added like the fur and stuff of the Burkles and stuff.
Yeah. So when I did Stacey Bowers covers, I did like these little, I did something with each cover was a little bit different. Her new series. So each one has like the burst of color behind it, but it also has, you know, something else like, you know, dots or hearts or stars or something. So I like using you know, things to make it more interesting, but I don't know that that's going to work here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't like that. I do think that, you know, if you wanted to bring in some bubbles, the ones that I have are overlapping way too much. You know, you could bring some bubbles in to fill in this empty space and make it a little bit more interesting, but you know, it's not necessary. So I would bring in some more confetti here. Let's see if I can grab that, duplicate that layer. Where did it go? Maybe put some, that's too matchy right there. But that Orange and pink look good. Probably should have studied for this test.
I think you're doing amazing.
Listen, part of my humor is just picking on myself all the time. I don't actually really mean it. I know that I have a process and it's hard to do it like on the spot and get it right the first time. I have to play with things a lot, just kind of flesh out ideas and see if something works on, on the screen like it does in my head. I'm just kidding. I make bad jokes all the time. Ask Clay. All right, so I'm gonna use this and block out some of this crap here. Not that. What happened here? That's what happened. All right, so it's just too much happening. All right. Anyway, and then we have no, I'm probably spelling that wrong. Me. I like this color. So typically, am I over my time, Clay? I feel like I probably am.
Probably so.
Yeah, sorry, I talked.
I'm doing kind of a mock-up in the background here that won't be live, but I can show you.
Are you doing this one too?
No, different one.
Oh. So because this is angled, I think it would be cool. Did I spell your name wrong? Probably did.
It's RRO.
Okay.
No N.
Oh, so I made it up. I called you something else. I'm sorry.
That's okay. People do it all the time because it looks like it could be.
All right, and then I'm gonna just write Illustrator because I don't know her name. I forgot.
Okay, I can. Yeah, we can get. Yeah.
Normally, I would make this a different font, but I kind of like the simplicity of keeping it the same and then having this be straight. I really like this here in this empty spot, and then it needs something here. So, like I said, this cupcake, I don't love it because of the icing color. I don't think it matches perfectly, but I do like this font better than the other one. It feels less smudgy to me, or muddy or something. And then I think this could be cool with some bubbles, but I do think that less is more usually. And that in your case, Julia, sorry, I think that you should start with the title and then try and fit your elements around it. I didn't do a great job demonstrating that, but I think that you kind of understand what I'm trying to accomplish here without having enough time to really.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fantastic. Thank you.
And then the text, let's move that back a little bit. I think that this part makes it a little bit more fun, and that you need something relevant here, whether that is like, maybe, hang on, let's see. That's kind of cute. Having him behind it. I just messed that up. Oh, you don't want to see him though, right? His eyes only.
No, that was fine. Yeah, where she's peeking out. That's cute.
I think that makes the cupcake feel a little bit more relevant. Oops, where did he go?
It's also a good size reference because that's about how big they are.
Yeah, he doesn't look like it's so oddly placed there. I typically like to have, this looks like it's floating in the sky. I like to have like a ground. It needs like some sort of, something to make it feel grounded, because what is the shadow reflecting on? You know what I mean? But that's just how I obsess over things as an illustrator. It doesn't mean it needs to be that way. Is there any other text that belongs on here, or is this it?
That's it for the front cover.
Anyway, so this is not perfect, but I think that maybe I kind of think that the green guy is cute, and just keep in mind that you wouldn't see any of his mouth because
And that's okay. Yeah.
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 So I'm over my time because I spent a lot of time obsessing over silly things, but I think this is a good spot to start. And
Absolutely.
you could even play with, the different casing. I don't know. I don't know if that would work or not, but you could, for example, like capitalize this whole word if you wanted to emphasize it in a different way, or just rearrange things in until your heart's content. But I think that's where I'm gonna have to end this one because I've gone over my time, even though it was my idea to have time. Clay's got stuff to do, and we actually are going out of town tomorrow. So I'm going to move on to the next one.
I really appreciate this. Thank you so much, Katie.
Yeah, sure. Sorry that it didn't get to a better place where we could, you could use it, but I will send this back to you nonetheless because if nothing else, it's a little bit more organized and it'll be easier for you to sort through your file.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a couple others that I love this illustration. Marianne, I don't know if you're still here. This illustration is really great. I think that it was you that was asking about.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
I think it was you that was asking about the gradient background.
Yeah, yeah.
One thing I don't love is this odd shape here.
Mm.
I don't know what that was. What is this? Is this intended to be something specific? Like
Yeah,
some
so
bite mark? Is that
yeah, so the text is going to go in there, and then the title is A Little Book of Taiwanese Eats. So it's meant to be kind of like a bite because it's, like, I guess, eats.
I feel like, when you have shapes like this, it kind of limits you and having to fit it into that space. And you're really wasting all this space here that you could be utilizing for, the title and the subtitle. I know you also have a subtitle.
Yeah.
This area right here for me lends itself to the subtitle, but let's just see what we can get to.
Awesome.
So I like this color. So one thing that I have a hard time with as I'm doing these sorts of things is not changing the illustration. This is not my book. I'm not the illustrator. And so, I think her style is that, she doesn't have shadows and stuff. Is that intentional? Is that how the book is on the inside, or was that forgotten? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Oh, no, so it actually, because she added it in after. So this one was actually, I tried to enlarge the food. So I actually do have an updated version of this where there are shadows now.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
at the point that I sent this, it didn't yet.
Sometimes this, sometimes the intention is to not have shadows because that's for style. And so I never want to change it. So with the shadows, you're going to get a lot more depth.
Mm-hmm.
Sure that you've noticed that in the file that you have. So what I'm trying to do is mimic the textures that she had put into the artwork for the background without the bubble. And it's not perfect because I don't have the same brushes that she has, but I think that you can kind of see what I'm trying to do here. So I do like, when you've got colors being blended in the background, I think that it adds a lot. And, you have this sort of textures like right here, in the face, which are really cool. So I think that this looks like a very similar brush to the one I used. What I'm trying to do is just have it match, basically. I think that this needs more space. So where is it? I don't know what that is. It's not turned on anyway.
Oh, so this one, did you actually also lighten around the face too? Because I think the original version actually is a little darker. So I don't know if this one is.
I haven't touched it. This is.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't touched this file at all. Oops, that's what I meant to do.
Then in the final version, yeah, it'll be a little bit darker and a little more blended around where that face is, but a little lighter where his features are so that it can pop a little more.
Okay, so this is part of that too. Okay, so this is the. Okay, so I think we need some more space here for. I think that this down here is a really good spot for the credits.
Mhm.
Hang on one second. Clay, I noticed that you were doing this manually, bro. If you can, I mean, you probably know this, but you can actually save guides. And
Yes, I do know that. I just wasn't doing it that way.
yeah, I have them saved, but it divides it for me. Hang on, I'll just move this one out of the way. All right, so let's get this here. This also has a texture, which is really cool, but I gotta match it. All right, so this is, I'm just gonna throw this up here, just some more space. It's not gonna match perfectly, but that's just because I don't have the brush. Okay, and then forgive me, Marianne, I'm gonna cheat and just write author illustrator.
And that's totally cool.
For the credits. All right, and then this font just does not work whatsoever for your illustration. So now I'm gonna go and look for the right font. One thing I'm looking at when I'm choosing fonts is texture and readability. This is that font. Just something that seems like it was drawn by the illustrator. I think that Clay mentioned this before, but something that I'm always aiming to achieve is so that the text and the illustration look like they were done by the same person, same brain. And so finding something that works with the illustration is critical. So I usually take a good amount of time looking for fonts, and I have a ton of fonts because I collect them like it's my job. And let's see, I'm trying to hurry here. I wasted a lot of time yapping because I do that like it's my job also. This is, I mean, I really like this font, but I don't know that it works well for yours. It's so playful. And so can you tell me how to pronounce your subtitle?
It's
I'm gonna copy it, but I think I screwed it up when I was saying it out loud earlier.
no worries. It's a Taiwanese foodie book.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry, a Bopomofo foodie book. We've been back and forth a few times.
Yeah, I definitely screwed that up when I said it earlier. You said it a lot nicer than I did.
It's just the yeah, it's like the Taiwanese alphabet parallel, basically.
Okay, so I like this font for this. And that's way too big. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go back to your email because I don't know how to say this. Let's see. All right, there we go. We're done. JK. All right, let's see. A little book. Copy that. Okay, so if I'm assigning hierarchy to the text, I think that a little book of is very unimportant in terms of, you know, hierarchy anyway. And let's see. Even more so is the A and of. So I'm going to make these even smaller than this. So for some reason, I think it's probably because the illustration is centered. I think that, you know, when they're centered like this, it kind of lends itself to having a balanced and centered title. It doesn't always work that way, but let's see. I'm not going to keep that font either. Oh, God. All right. So something I probably obsess over way too much is the letters. So the way that kids read, or the way that kids learn to read is with an A like this rather than a double stacked A. So I really try to avoid those in general for kids' books. I think that they're a little bit more forgivable on the interior of a book, but definitely not on the cover, in my opinion. Depending on I mean, I guess it depends on the font in the book and the intent. But whenever possible, I really try to avoid them. Let's see here. Uh-oh, I think the baby learned I'm not in here. I don't like this font. It's like horror, a horror movie. Hang on. I thought I liked it, but I don't like it at all. Let me go back. So Clay has his favorite resources for fonts. I actually tend to buy like the whole portfolio from certain font designers. So I have like all of the Jonda fonts and all of the Kimberly, whatever her name, KG fonts, because they are really kind of geared, in my opinion, towards kids' books. They seem to work really well. So I tend to just try and go through my fonts first before I buy new ones. So that's why I'm doing this. But Clay gave you a lot of really great resources. This font is actually kind of fun. I've never used this one before. I don't know if it works perfectly for this illustration, but I think it works. Do you like this font, Marianne? That one, hang on. I'm gonna just save that one and I'm gonna turn that off. So when I'm working on finding the font, I tend to, you know, agree to it and then I duplicate it and then change it again so I can revert back and see which one I like better. So let's see. This one feels fun too, but it might be too much. It's also hard, I think, when you're searching for fonts to kind of visualize what you want to do with them, because the way it looks when you're just searching for them is certainly not how it ends up when you add, you know, color and effects when possible. So let's see. One thing I really like to do, whoops, not that. One thing I like to do often is create work paths. So I will create a path here and then type on the path so that it kind of takes the shape of an object. And this doesn't always work, but it might in this case because of the shape of your character here. Let's see. Oops. This can be a little bit smaller. So these tools up top, if you're ever working in Photoshop, I find them to be incredibly useful with just centering things. So this, I think I like that it's centered. I know that this thing has this book has a subtitle too. Let's see. I kind of like the shorter one, but let's see what this looks like. And this is another way that we can use this other font, which was Dreaming Out Loud. Didn't like that. Oops. Let's see here. Me, I don't like that. All right, this is. It's a little bit too big. I don't know if I like this font actually now that I'm messing with it, but I think that we can kind of see the intention here. Oops. So, you know, you could put the subtitle off to the center, I mean, off centered so that it kind of grabs your attention. You could also put it on one line and have it centered above. Oops. I think I screwed something up. There. Yeah, I did. Okay. We could have it centered underneath the title. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe that would work. He's cute. This little character's so cute. I love him. So another option would be to have this all be together. I haven't gone through to you know, pull things in and turn them, but this W is kind of wonky. I think that it works really well being centered. I think that it needs some dimension. I think that the shadows would really help with that. I'll just, oops. So if I'm looking at adding a shadow, for example, and I want to pull in a color that you've got there, you know, the shadows really make a big difference in terms of, you know, depth. I'm gonna have to move all this. You know, and then hang on 1 second. All right, and then from the background, it might even be cool to it needs it. So one thing that I think that your cover really is, I want to say lacking, and then that sounds harsh, but I think that what you really need is some movement. It feels very flat. And I'm a big fan of movement and kind of drawing on someone's emotions somehow. You know, this just feels very, even though I think that in terms of composition that it works, I think it still feels like it's missing something. And without really knowing, you know, what your book includes on the interior, it's hard for me to recommend what to add, but I think it needs something.
Got it.
I know, let me just figure out, let me just add. This all needs to be centered. And then this be centered to all of this. Do you know what I mean though by movement of some sort? I
Yeah.
think that in terms of balance, though, this works really well compositionally. Um, you know, to Clay's point, I think that it certainly needs some different color. I really like what he did where he alternated all the colors, but I think that you can pull in and make this way more interesting with other colors, like maybe, you know, this color. You want something that's going to grab your attention when you're scrolling. This really stands out to me. Oh, there's my friend Haley. And we could grab, I don't know, let's see, this color. Maybe it needs to be deeper. Notebook could be another color, be this guy. I mean, there's certainly ways to make it more interesting, or maybe, you know, the eats and this one are the same color. I just really like this color. I think that makes it really makes it pop. And then you could even add something a little bit more interesting to this part so that it really stands out. I like to grab a color from the background so that it looks a little bit more subtle. And that kind of works. I think that you still need something else here though. All right, so,
Movement?
pardon?
So when you say movement, do you think it's like movement, the bear itself, or do you mean like adding, I guess, not characters? So it's mainly with food and there's some little characters inside also,
Let
but
me,
adding like things that way?
yeah, let me just show you really quickly because I don't know if that's the right color there, but I was actually playing with Misty's cover yesterday. I hope that she won't mind me showing this. But so this is where we started with her cover. This is what she sent me. And I think that, you know, this is literally something moving and there was no indication of it moving. And so I thought that it needed something. And so what I did to start with was move this here because it made it feel like he was moving to me. And then this ghost of him was left behind. So I had to turn off the light, which is kind of funny. But this is where I landed with it I actually didn't mess with the text at all, but you can see I added this wind. And then it feels a lot more like there's movement and there's something interesting going on. Again, we always want to have the movement moving towards the right of the side of the book. It kind of subtly makes you want to open it. I actually, this purple was something I used on Stacy's cover, and I literally just didn't change it. So I didn't do anything with the text treatment other than placing it. Something else that I think would be really cool, Marianne, and actually Julia too, is if you found a way to integrate your cover with your illustration. I'm not sure if you can see here, but I actually, I cut this out so that it looked like it was tucked behind whatever this thing is. And then I moved the camel layer up, you know, above it so that the camels were actually, you know, in front of it. And so it looks like it's tucked somewhere between the pyramids and the camels. And I think that that effect is really cool. I think that, you know, the way that this is tucked here works really well. And so something that, you know, you could do would be just to have this kind of resting behind him. You would need this to be larger. So this could be, it could be cool if that worked. Let's see. Where is he? Way at the bottom. I just want to show you what I mean. This is probably not going to work out perfectly, but a cover that did this perfectly. If you're familiar with Gloomy Bambooni.
Oh, I think I saw that on your last, you guys did the last edit on that one, right? He's like kind of in front of one side and behind the other.
We didn't actually work on that one. She's a designer herself and did her own book, but it worked perfectly. And so, I mean, it really added some dimension, and this E is really, I don't know why it's up so high. I really,
The Bamboon is kind of right in between the two sets of characters, right? Like
yeah.
in front of Bloomy and behind.
It's just so cool. Yeah, and so something else here that you could do is just drop down the E and the S, and that makes this look like it's curved. But you see what I mean? Like you could have all of these behind, and then have the S. Yeah. You could have the S in the foreground where it looks kind of intentionally like it's in front. So the way you do that is you just create a mask over the artwork.
Mhm.
Oops, other way. What is going on here? Oh, that's why I've got it in there. There you go. Do you see what I mean? I mean, I don't love that, but it's just some way to have the title interacting with the illustration is kind of cool. It does not work for your cover, but it would work in other situations possibly. I liked it better the way that it was, where it was centered above and it had everything centered. Where were we? Up here. Okay. So this again is not perfect. Actually, this needs to get moved up. I didn't notice that it was there before, but I like this. I think it just needs something more interesting. And without really knowing what your book is about, I don't know what to suggest other than just more interesting things in the background. So something that I did with the one, actually it was one of the covers that I did before on the last cover design thing, is just adding a spotlight, and it looks like he's shining and happy, and you could even add some highlight to him where, you know, looks like he's getting hit by the light. I'm doing this roughly, but again, these are just things that you know, your illustrator would have to do for you. But it already looks like it has some more dimension than it was very flat before. Yeah, so I might think about what you could add there. So I think that I'm probably out of time because I talk way too much, but compositionally, I think that it lends itself to be centered. This is probably not the perfect font, but I like the subtitle centered there, or right here where it's intentionally off-centered. This probably doesn't need to be super high. I actually brought it up quite a bit here. You could move it back down and make this bigger. Let's see. But he's so cute. I mean, it has a lot of potential here. Did you have any questions or anything you want to see?
Well, a quick one is, I saw someone mentioned with steam coming from the food, would that kind of be enough movement or help add some movement and, I guess, interest?
I don't know. I mean, movement doesn't work for every single cover, but I think that it would for yours. You do have some steam right here. I don't know that it's large enough. So like if you were to drag it up so that it's way more visible, you know what I mean? I didn't notice it until I was actually going through your layers a little while ago to organize everything in a way that I can process it. But you know, this works great. I think that, you know, if you were to add a little bit more, and I've got a brush for that, that it might work. You know, where, you know, he's, you know, where it's kind of interfering almost, where you can't help but miss it. You can't help but notice it, because this is just really subtle at this point. If it were to go up even higher and have it interacting with your title treatment, I think that that's really cool, where it kind of goes through. So one of the things I did on Misty's cover is I had the wind going through the letters. I really dig it when the illustration and the title work together somehow. And so that, I think that that could be cool, where if you have it coming up and then, you know, have the, let's see, if you had that go through here, you know, it's not perfect because I'm trying to erase it rather than drawing on it, but you see what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I really like this theme.
yeah, actually, this theme is really cool going through the title. And I think that that helps it interact better with the illustration. What do you think? Do you like it? I mean, in terms of like the composition being centered, I will send you back this file so that you can play with it if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. Yeah, I really like it, especially with the theme. It
Yeah,
adds a little. It makes it look a little more interesting.
yeah. I'm not sure that that's the right font, but it does work with the illustration still. You said that you were working on something. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I can show you what I was.
When you're doing that, I'm gonna try and tackle this a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
So this was one, I don't think Crystal's on the call, but this was one she had submitted, which is, you know, a action hero slash VeggieTales book. So, you know, bringing in some fun characters in the shape of berries and veggies and whatever. So I was looking at this. I really like the illustrations. There's a lot of energy here. I'm trying to figure out what can we do, what's not working, and what can we do to improve it. So there's a few things that stand out to me that I want to address. First of all is the title. The title is small in this banner here, and really not jumping out and not catching your attention. In fact, the thing that catches my eye, the first thing is this volume 2 badge, because it's bright. The red and the white is grabbing my eye. And that's actually one of the least important elements on the cover. The other thing that's not working here is that we've got 4 characters coming at you, and so there's not a single focal point. And then there's this rising evil in the background that kind of gets lost in the midst of all that. So there's too much going on. We've got 2 cherries on either side here, which plays into the Cherry Larry's theme or idea. Larry's without any sort of break between the Y and the S looks like Laris to me, like laryngitis or something. So that doesn't sit quite right to me. I felt like that's something needs to adjust that. Needs to be adjusted there. And then the subtitle, A New Evil Rises, is the same weight and size as the main title. And so there's no visual hierarchy going on there. The bylines are in a very simple font and not adding much. They're kind of in the way of the illustration as well. The spine, we've got a nice wraparound illustration, and wraparound illustrations are fantastic, but then it's interrupted by this red spine. And so I'd rather get rid of the red and actually make the title and byline work on the spine without having a need for the red ribbon there. And then on the back, well, the UPC is kind of central. It can be shoved off into the corner, so that's not necessary. And then we have this box with the with kind of the blurb on it. This isn't too bad. Well, first of all, it looks like it's set in Comic Sans, and so don't get me started on Comic Sans. We don't have to go down that road, but it's not too bad in the sense that this is comic-y, and so it looks like a box from a comic. But generally speaking, I try to avoid putting text in boxes, just because usually that means you haven't left room for the text in your composition, and so I think that kind of applies here. So anyway, those are all the things that are catching my eye as I was looking at this. So here's while Katie was doing her stuff, this is what I was working on in the background. So here's my new take on it. So picked a very energetic action comic sort of font, tilted it even further, used that cherry as actually in place of an apostrophe to separate the Larrys. I think that's a kind of a fun touch. And then a kind of a supporting font that's a little bit high tech and gives that action feel. This again was typically, like, it's without an effect applied to it, it's typically just a straight up and down font, but we applied some angle to it, italicizing to it to give it a little bit of energy. Move the volume 2 up to the corner, and I'm using a cream color that I pulled basically from the illustrations for all of the text instead of plain white, and I applied that up there as well, which kind of fades that out. Red is almost always going to catch your eye more than anything else, so by changing the ring around volume 2 to a green, first of all, it kind of ties into the cherry veggie theme, fruit theme, but it makes it less prominent and puts it in its place. And then we got rid of the red ribbon along the spine. One of the problems was that the title on the spine is right on top of a window in the building, as you can see there. And so when I got rid of the ribbon, all of a sudden you can't really read the title very well over the ribbon. So what I did was actually mask out the window so that works okay. And now you can have the wraparound title without having to worry about that. And then moved this blurb to the bottom. I would recommend, I love these characters in the back and they're great. I mean, I think I would recommend moving this cucumber or whatever she is over maybe to another window, and then putting the blurb somewhere in the center of the back cover, so it's a little bit more prominent rather than at the bottom. And then you'd have more room for a UPC or a publishing logo or something like that down there. So anyway, this is where we started. Oh, and then I hid the 2 characters in the background, which really gives more of a singular focus to the conflict on the front. That's where we ended up. Any thoughts, questions there?
That was fast, Clay.
Yeah. Sorry, I got to work the whole time you were you were doing stuff.
Blabbing my mouth. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, right.
All right. So, I actually didn't see anything you just did, but I'm sure it's fantastic.
No, that's okay. That's all right. So.
All right. So, you want me to switch back over here?
Yep, go for it.
All right. 1 second. I am coming. Okay. All right. So let's see here. So I don't know if you saw where this started. Let me see. Let's see. Let me open this back up. So this cover, I think, has potential, but she's been really struggling with it. So I did want to try to get to some of it today. Where is my edit? Just had it, didn't I? There it is. Okay. So I think that the reindeer that she had on the other covers, because they weren't full-bodied reindeers, they're not usable. This is gonna work out better for her than I think the other way. I don't remember who was which, who was the author. I think Mimi Jones was the author. I know this is a controversial topic, but one way you can differentiate between illustrator and author is just by making the author's name bigger. It doesn't bother me personally as an illustrator, but I know it does to some people. So if you're going to choose to do this, make sure that you talk to your illustrator about it first. Okay, and then we need something. So this is Santa's Rainbow Reindeer. Is that what it was called? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we've already spent a lot of time. Whoops. Let's see. Okay, so these need something Christmassy, but let's see. So you obviously you can notice that there's no rainbow on here yet. So we do need to bring in the rainbow scents from with the color title. See, Jonda has a bunch of Christmas fonts. Let's see. The part that's hard for me with this specific cover is without seeing the interior, I don't know if this is going to match at all with the book. What you don't want to do is be deceitful in your cover so that it doesn't match what people are going to buy. So this may not work at all for her, but I did want to show the composition options here. So she needed some foreground and some background. Everything was floating in the background. So this is a fun font. I like this one. Let's see. Okay, so Santa's needs to be a little bit smaller. So Rainbow Reindeer are really where it's at here. And even reindeer probably isn't as critical as rainbow. Let's see. Is anybody still here, Clay? I don't even know. I haven't looked.
Got 22 people watching you, so yeah.
Oh God, no pressure. I like that for stand-up. I actually don't like how this looks for rainbow and reindeer, but I'm not going to waste time finding another font. This is purely just to show the difference in composition. So what we have here is some movement. We have a background, a clear foreground, obviously with the clouds. I carved out some good centered space there for the credits. And what we need to do here now is just make sure that we have something rainbow. So there's way too much of this color currently. So I want to pull in another color somehow. Maybe we need to bring in some Christmassy colors. Christmas red is more orangey red. Something like that. Let's see. And then rainbow. I'm going to cheat and do the same thing I did before. Let's see. Roy G. Biv. Do you have to say that every time you make a rainbow, Clay? I do. All right. Red, orange. If there was colors here to pull from, I totally would, but right now there isn't. Green. Let's see. Cut that to there. And then this needs a whole thing. I really hate that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that we can kind of see where I'm trying to go with this. It's still, even though this font treatment is horrible right now, I really hate it and I would never want anyone to see that. It's better than it was already. It needed a lot of work, this cover. I think that it could be better with another color. I mean, I don't like that color, using it again, but I don't know. What do you think? It's still horrible. I mean, sorry, I should not have said that. It's not great right now. This reindeer looks like it was written by a reindeer. Okay. Anyway, I think that this being curved, this wasn't curved before I actually warped it. It was straight before. So I enlarged it, I warped it, and then I tried to add some dimension there. Any thoughts there, Clay? Homie? What do you think you would do? I don't want to spend any more time on
The font I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
needs font.
I like it for Santa. The Santa's I like the way Santa's written there, but
Yeah, for some reason it works in certain contexts, but it's
yeah, I hear you and I agree.
got a lot of visual interest to it, so sometimes in some contexts.
Yeah. Well, I had like 10 minutes to work on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to search for the right font, but in terms of using what we have to try and create a cover that is usable, I think that this is the best option. And you could even add in some, because we have a moonlight there. You could even add in some highlights over this, and then that's really horrible. I used the wrong brush. But that's not where it was. It's right here. Just to make it more interesting, but that's not the right way. I'm rushing now. Anyway, I think that you understand what I'm trying to say here, because it's very flat. So either adding some highlight to it so that you catch some glimpses of a few details. But this silhouette is just, in my opinion, not really enough to sell a book. And I do like this font. It's very Christmassy. Uh-oh, a kid found me. Yes.
Are you making dinner?
Am I making dinner? What is this, the 18th century?
Yeah!
Okay, go away. Go play. I love you. Goodbye. Anyway, so that's all I mean, at this point, that's as far as I can get with this cover. What we wanted to do, Clay, we still have a little bit of time, is just talk about a few of the other ones that came in. Do you want to take that lead, or do you want me to just continue?
Go ahead, since you got something up. I'll pull up the ones that I was gonna mention.
Okay, so this book, the illustrations are absolutely beautiful. I don't know if Heather's here with us or not.
Mom.
Baby.
I am Katie. This is Katie's book actually, but we worked on it together. We like consulted with each other on this and was trying to help her, and yeah, it's really hers now. But yes, it's kind of like the angel theme, so I wanted it to, her to pick the cover
Yeah.
that was best for her.
So,
That's her daughter in the center, little Sophia. So yeah.
So when Clay and I were going through these, I'm very uncomfortable talking about this. When we were going through these covers and trying to decide which ones we were going to work on, I said I couldn't work on this book because I lost my sister and it was just too close to me. So this for me is very close to home. And these characters look very lifelike, which I'm sure is probably intentional. Something I wanted to note about this, though, is this texture. I know that it was done on purpose, it's on all of the interior illustrations also, but it really does feel like it's just it's on watercolor paper, but it's kind of like, this doesn't feel like it's watercolor artwork. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure if the texture works perfectly with this illustration style.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what, it's beautiful. What I discovered when I was Yes, please go and shut the door, please. Okay, thank you. What I discovered when I was going through all of your pictures, this illustration just totally jumped out to me, and I was inspired by it. It feels less uncomfortable if they're facing away from each other, given the context. Normally, I would want to see the character, I'd want to feel the emotion, but I think anybody in the situation it's probably hard for them, you know? And so I'm not sure if this is the right answer, but I think composition wise, this works a lot better than it being up top. What you might want to consider is, you said this is Sophia here.
Yeah, and you're right. Like that's exactly what you know, Katie just messaged in the chat. That's what the editor said too. And originally I was like, oh, I love that, you know, cover. But you're right. Like it is very emotional. So obviously,
For me, it's like it's really
could be a spread, yeah, inside the book versus like a cover.
yeah. It's just very. I mean, I was 9 when I lost my sister. She was 3, and
Aw.
I can still remember it, especially having a 3-year-old. I have 5 children.
Yeah.
You know, when I look at them, this topic for me is it's every mother's worst nightmare. You know, and
I know.
I sympathize with, is it Kate or Katie?
Katie.
Yeah, I sympathize with her. No mother should ever have to do that. You know.
No.
So if you wanted to achieve the same sort of composition, this works. Like for example, if I were to take, I actually really like this font with it also.
Mhm.
It works really well, in my opinion, because it matches the style of the artwork.
Yeah.
So you can
What font is that? That was a font that you found?
it's a font called Born Ready.
Born Ready.
But I
Okay.
like it because it has like, you know, it has brush strokes and,
Yeah.
you know, I think it
That's
really
pretty.
works well with that. And I added some texture to it to highlight it because there was some glow coming from that, you know, so it looked like it was coming from the background. It also wouldn't hurt to do like a, you know, an outer glow because of that. I think it probably needs to be a little bit more yellow, but that could also work. You know what I mean? It takes me a little bit to get these right, but
No, that looks really pretty, I think. And I think that it's funny, the cover originally kind of reminds me of, you know, Nancy Tillman's like The Heaven of Animals, where all the animals were on the cloud. Like that's the only Heaven book she did. If you're familiar with that one, I'm not sure, but
I have to be honest with
yeah.
you. When I see stuff like this on Facebook or when I read, you know, I see articles, as soon as it has to do with a child passing, I can't stomach it.
Oh
You know,
no,
I
no.
feel like my stomach's in my throat. This is my worst fear. And it just brings it back to my sister, and this is totally personal, but I wanted to just see if I could, you know, make some progress with it. I think that this font works really well, and I really was taken aback by this illustration. It is absolutely breathtaking, and I think that this is a cover that I would be drawn to.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you,
this
Katie.
font is really personal, obviously, to the author, but if you're trying to sell the book, you know, I think that this one is more impactful if I'm
Mhm.
totally objectively. So I played with that one a little bit. I wanted to play with this one, but I haven't gotten a chance. So Sonia, I will play with it when I have a few minutes. I think that this book has a lot of really great potential. And Sonia, I know that I mentioned this to you privately, but I think that this title with the water could have some differing opinions about what that means. When I showed it to my 19-year-old, he first thought sex. And I know that obviously that's not your intention, but, and it probably wouldn't be the first thought for most people. But what I learned with Cindy's book, let me just show you really fast. What I learned with Cindy's book is that you have to be really careful how things are received. So when I was illustrating this book for Cindy, she has a spread here. I swear we have one in here. this one. We had to be really careful how we did this because people were sexualizing a girl that was covered in ice cream. I had a banana here and people sexualized it. Her shirt wasn't showing enough and people sexualized it. This people sexualized. And so we had to completely change the composition of this to try and mitigate that. And so while I think that, you know, the cover has a lot of potential as it is, I think that you just have to consider how you're presenting it. So if it were me, I'd get rid of the wave. I would enlarge her. This would be the first thing I would do. I don't know what that arm is doing there. That's kind of funny. I would make her the focus. I would focus on this background here. Okay, we're gonna get rid of that. And I would add in some sunset. I said I wasn't gonna do this right now, here I am. I would really try and focus on making her the focal point and getting rid of the wave. Because when it's just her, not the water and stuff, and I could be totally by myself here in this thought, but I would hate for you to find out in Amazon reviews or people protesting your book because of other things. I also know that this book, I only learned this after talking to you, I think, that this book is about acts of kindness, and I'm not getting any of that from your cover. And so if that's what this is about, I think that you should try and find a way to represent that in your cover. So then, you know, when you have that, then have her be the focal point, and then you can, you know, use this area here for your text. And you don't need those bubbles. But I would get rid of the element. I would get rid of the water elements. Personal opinion, unsolicited advice. But as your friend, Sonia, that's what I would do. And
I appreciate that. Like, the only thing is I use water imagery throughout the entire book. It's all like onomatopoeia, like, you know, would burble, ripple, drop, drip, drop, all that kind of stuff.
yeah, but in context, I think it's okay.
Okay.
I've been trained to be really cautious of things like this. So even
Yes, yeah.
like, this is going to sound crazy, but even this spread, whoops, what did I just do? And I'm getting totally off topic here. I'm sorry, Clay. But I think it's important for all of us to kind of think about this, because we can't choose who's going to pick up our book or see it or make something of it that isn't there. And what's your name? Cindy, where are you? There you are. Make something of it that doesn't exist, you know? And so we've got to be careful. And so this spread here, I had her bathing suit a little bit shorter. And so I had to bring it down some. Same with her cover. You know, this was shorter. It was just like a bikini top, you know, so that we could show off her belly button. And I had to make it longer because people were uncomfortable with that when we did some tests, you know, with test groups. And so people just don't want to have anything that could be insinuated in different ways. And so I would hate for you to find out the wrong way, and I couldn't not tell you that.
No,
So that's what I would do to change that cover. Clay, do you have some that you want to touch on, homie? There you go.
And then I'm gonna have to bug out, but Michelle, I don't know if you're here, but it sent this along. I know this one's already published, but I thought it was I actually really like this cover in a lot of ways, and the illustration's just top notch. I think the one thing that two things that stand out to me here is one, just kind of there's this big negative space down here underneath the title. And so what I was just actually kind of messing with here was I grab the title, and then let's see if we can do this. No. So expand that to 5, and then we'll our film. Let's expand a little bit more. Okay. I love this feature of Photoshop. You basically select stuff and tell it to remove it, and for the most part it does what you ask it to do. So I use this all the time when you see me do like a mock-up quick on didn't do a terrific job here, but anyway, when you see me do a quick mock-up on Facebook and I move elements around, this is what I'm usually doing because I have a flat file and I have to like pull elements out. This is a really high res file, so let's actually take a little bit. Okay, so anyway, I would, my baseball didn't come with, but anyway, I would probably just rework this a little bit, maybe move a player over to the left a little bit and fill this space with one good hit. Maybe put something up in the sky, just something in the corner, just to frame it a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, the backdrop, batting cage backdrop sort of thing, backstop. And then these fonts, we've got a few different fonts going on. There's one that's used here. I actually was curious what you had as you blurb, so I went out to Amazon, and this is what is on the back as the full blurb. So this is a little bit of a kind of a weird font. It's got a weird look to it. So I probably would pick a single font. We got 3 going on. We have this one, and then these are 2 separate fonts here. I'd probably pick the simple one, the one that by and illustrations by is in, and just use that in all 3 places just to keep it clean and keep it consistent. So anyway, and this here isn't bad. I would probably make he is determined to get a hit a little bit bigger, move it down a little bit, and then put my box of text in here. Maybe frame it. There's a way to like actually make these buildings in the background a little bit more visible and kind of frame those around the blurb. It'd be kind of fun. But anyway, there are minor things here. I think this is actually a really strong cover. Great look at his eyes. Nice visible character, and I know immediately what it's about. He wants to get one good hit, so I'm intrigued to open the book. A great title, perfectly selected title, and so anyway, there's only some tweaks that would need to happen there. So this was good. This was, I think, another previous, your PSD, your layered PSD had this option in it, and this is good, but I think this one is so much stronger with that that determination in his eyes. So. And then this one, which was Carly's, I think there's some good start with the title. I think the fact that it's broken up here weakens it a little bit. I appreciate the intentionality of the visual hierarchy. So might try to simplify to a single font here instead of having this font that's used for big and 4, and then the different one for plans and tomorrow. Try to use a single font would probably make that more consistent and consolidated. Cohesive is the word I'm looking for. I would probably put big plans for tomorrow, probably all, like I can move some of these around. I'd probably move them all over here. Make this something like that. So that it's all just of one unit. Then one of the challenges here is we have two illustration focal points, and so one is the kid in his bed, and one is the dreams that are happening. So I don't know which to focus on here, and then there's 5 or 6 dreams going on. So I think my suggestion would probably be to bring the boy up and maybe even flip it around. A bit larger, somewhere in here where it's just a bit larger and kind of filling this space a little bit. And then with the dream is okay, but there probably just needs to be a single scene in the dream, and one that actually very clearly is him doing something. So not just a shark, not just a tiger. The swing isn't bad, but just him picturing himself doing something amazing. And so instead of trying to fit in 6 things, 6 ideas, again, you don't have to communicate all of what happens in your book. You just need to kind of capture a mood, and that mood is that he's dreaming about doing amazing things and what his plans are for tomorrow. And so make this a little bit bigger and more obvious down here in the corner, and then this becomes your real focal point, which is him doing whatever amazing thing that he has in mind. So with just a few adjustments there, I think this could be a lot stronger. And then your byline could probably move over here to the left, which kind of pushes it out of the way, and it wouldn't be interfering with your illustrations.
That's already a lot better, Clay.
What's that?
I said I agree. That's a lot better already.
Yeah, it just gives a little more structure to the composition. So
It doesn't feel so stressful. And
right.
You have the Z.
Right. Yeah, you do. You start here, you come over here, and then into his bed, and then you're opening the book and heading in. But this does feel stressful right now because you're trying to take in too many different things, and it really just needs to be what mood are you trying to set? What feeling do you want the reader to have? And that feeling is, oh, fun, adventure, excitement, and doing too many things is just overwhelming. But one cool thing could really capture their attention.
Yeah. What maybe think about what would sell your book the best.
Right.
So pick things that most kids can relate to.
Right.
Because otherwise it feels a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I don't know if Carly's here, but are there any other ones?
Those are the only 2 I had. So I think we covered most of the ones that were submitted. Might be one.
So if anybody, I know we have a few more minutes, Clay, right? If anybody wanted to send us, I think we wanted to try and leave time at the end for people to post things in the comments or quickly email it to us and we can discuss it, not change anything, but just talk it through. If anybody has any questions, we're here to answer them. I love Daddy so much. Love Garrett. That's so cute. At least somebody likes you, Clay.
Yeah, right. Oh, is that what you got behind me? Yeah. The funny thing is they kids wrote on my whiteboard like years ago, and I don't have the heart to take any of it off.
Your
So.
whiteboard is completely useless for work.
It's completely useless for work.
It makes me want to go home.
Every time they visit my office, they add another thing, so it's like a time capsule.
That's very sweet.
Hey, Katie and Clay, can I upload something really quick? And it's not anywhere close to being finalized, and just get quick feedback before I decide if this is how I'm going to move on with my cover.
Sure. And Nadia also asked Clay if we could look at hers, if we have a few
Yeah.
minutes. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, it's me.
What is your Ashley? Sorry, I forgot who was talking for a second. Are you able to post files in the chat? I think you can. In the meantime, Clay, do you want to bring up Nadia's? Because I definitely have that one. We can talk about Nadia's.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here it is. All right.
Got it.
You think you have a newer version. Of course you do. You're like I am. Change your mind 15 times. So immediately, Nadia, I think that we need to decide what you want people to see. I think you need some sort of spotlight or something on this, and maybe some highlight on her hair to first of all fill in this space. But it's not clear to me what he's looking at. So I think that if you were to highlight her, so to speak, it would help connect that image. I mean, you can jump in and disagree, Clay. I also think that the composition here needs some help. What, friend?
Oh, and then maybe his eyes looking backwards instead of straight forward.
Oh, yeah. I can show you what that might look like real quick. Just really fast. Let's,
That's creepy.
right? Something like that is what you mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Draws your attention.
Yeah, and then with her, I would add some sort of, I said that we weren't going to work on them. Friend, I will help you with your cover, don't worry. But I think that we need to, since for discussional, is that a word? For discussion purposes, I think that we need to draw some attention to this character here so that we understand, that she's the scary, worst part of Christmas, and then it gets better. I don't love the font choice here, more here. I think that this is very common. I see this font everywhere. What is it? Flowery. I guess no. I guess not. But it looks like what font does that look like, Clay? It looks like a standard font on computer.
Oh, it looks like that mid-mod font that's
Yeah.
used all the time. I forget.
It feels like it's just like Comic Sansy to me, without it being Comic Sans. Just that's what I mean. What I'm trying to say. It's obviously not duh. I don't know what that means. I'll deal with you later, Nadia. But I think that could help. I also think that if you're not married to this being a wraparound cover, I think it would look better flipped, where he's kind of facing also towards the right side of the cover. And then you'd have a little bit more space, Okay, well, we've got people leaving. Don't laugh at me, girl. Okay, and then let's just really quick. I promise you I will help you with your cover, Nadia. Let's see what Ashley's got here. Oh, I read the manuscript for this. It's so cute. The Sometimes Nice Dinosaur.
So I guess we haven't even started working on the cover. This is literally just like an inside spread that I really enjoyed, that I was like, oh, maybe this would make a great cover drawing. But I have no idea anything about covers other than what you guys have just told me. And I'm kind of back and forth about whether or not it actually is something that would actually draw people in.
This immediately.
Actually, this is really amazing.
Yeah, sorry.
I love this illustration. I think that once it's in color, it would be more clear what that is, because it took me a minute to figure out what it was. Or maybe if you brought this up a little bit so you could see a little bit more of his mouth, it would be a little bit more clear. I don't know. You'd have to make that decision once it's in color. I think that the confusing part for me right here is the title. I get that it's the dinosaur that's only nice sometimes, but I would make sometimes small and maybe in parentheses, and make the smaller, make the nice a little bit larger, just so that it's clear that he's only nice sometimes, because this doesn't read smoothly to me. Do you agree, Clay?
Yeah, you took all of my talking points. They're all gone. So
Finally, I got something right tonight. And I feel like because the illustration is so deliberately centered, I like that it's off-centered for that reason, but it also could be really great symmetrical.
Okay.
It stands out to me left line. I think it's kind of cool that way.
It is cool if you made the nice bigger and the sometimes.
Okay. I'm not sold on this title yet. So, I mean, I'm literally back and forth between a couple different titles, but this one seems like
What is that?
it's like Never Wake a Dinosaur, but then I don't want to get tied into those Never books, even though people like them.
Oh, well, listen, I have a whole new perspective about what sells after opening up 4 bookstores.
Yeah.
And those intentionally negative, never do this, you can't do that, you blah, blah, blah. They sell like so much better than the other books. And so while I get like wanting to be different, you know, you also want to sell your book, and I don't think it would hurt to
I kind of felt like that title was a little.
yeah, dude,
Just-
this would be such a good book to have it, you know, the text behind his head.
Okay.
That's what this was. Yeah, I was thinking if you moved it
I
up
see.
so that he's covering just a little bit of the S, I think that would be awesome because it really pushes him to the forefront.
Or wait, or
Yeah.
you could have the dinosaur down here, like at the bottom.
The word dinosaur.
A little bit, right? Raise him up a little bit so he's in front of the dinosaur. Dinosaur's in the middle, and then the nice goes right behind his head, and then the sometimes in parentheses, and then the small, and then your name at the top. Boom. That's it. Sorry, I just got really excited, but that's your cover. I'm telling you.
Okay.
That's it. I think that the dimension there would be like so good.
I think Katie just volunteered to lay that out for you, just so you know.
We'll see if Katie has time on her calendar for me.
That's right. That's right.
But seriously, that would be so cool. And I really dig the orange and the green.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, the color completely stands out. It's completely unique. I love
background color's also really good.
yeah.
I think that it could be cool with like some texture, but I really like it.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. I mean, my illustrator hasn't even touched it. This is literally just me like copy and pasting in Canva really quick.
So what you're saying is that you're going to be the next one helping us with these cover designs. Here,
Right.
Connor, I'll take her. Connor, I'll take the baby. My daughter's
All
freaking.
right. Well, I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for that feedback.
Come here. That's okay. You have to see how pretty my daughter is. Come here. Look, I finally made a girl. Come here. You say hi. You say hi. We can't see anybody.
Hey, Eddie. Told you she was going to come hang with us.
I know. All right. Anybody else have questions? Anything?
Huh?
Addie would like to share her snake with everybody. Okay. All right. So I think we're good. Are we good? Clay, friends?
I
Do you have
think we're
anything else?
good. Thank you, guys. Obviously, hit us up in the group with further questions or
I hope
or
this was
iterations.
really helpful.
Bye, sweet girl.
I say bye. Say bye.
Bye. Bye, Eddie.
You can't really see anybody. I say bye-bye. You give kisses? Mwah. You go give kisses? Show them you're a sweet girl. Yeah. All right, guys. It was fun hanging out. Clay, we're pretty much on time. High five.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, high five. I'm proud of us. Even with all my rambling, we're still ending around 7.
Yeah, right.
All right, go home to your fam.
Yep,
Talk
me.
to you soon.
All you guys too. Good night.
Friends.